up a chair and let down your hair. It's the Bennettarium. We got David, Bennett, Chelsea, Camille, Penyak on the Bennettarium, and Bunny will be back next week. Okay, well, I watched it a little bit. But.
So this is episode 6. I'm never going to remember the episodes. I think it's 6. November 20th.
Yeah,
2016.
That's where we are.
Okay.
That's the day. Bunny will be back next week. She just got back into town yesterday. Well, she got late.
Late last night.
And she said, I'm going to have to sit it out. Too tired. But...
So we all remember what happened after Yomicon.
Yeah, we'll try not to do these streams or I should say podcasts, because they're all recorded after like a show. Maybe the day.
It was very lethargic.
Not the next day, but the day after.
Yes.
It was just you. It was Bunny.
It was you, me, and Bunny.
Well, we won't repeat that again if someone's tired. But
got this nice setup here. This
is
new for Camille.
This is new for Camille. Yeah. We have the sound blankets that we are hanging up now.
It looks nice.
I'm the one that makes the stream happen, anyways. But yeah, it helps. It looks nice visually, but it also it takes down some of the reflection. I don't know why I clapped, like anyone cares. But yeah, there's less reflection. Let's talk about some Steam Powered Giraffe stuff, since we went the whole podcast last time without talking about it. Oh, good. Chrome new to restore.
Oh, okay. So is that why?
Yeah. What?
So is that why it was frozen?
No, I'm just saying that when it locked up and I had to hard reset, Chrome was like, oh, you have sessions. We're going to restore your session. And just threw up all my tabs again. So that's great.
Yeah, last week we had a little bit of a break from the usual with our guest, Aaliyah Rhodes, who's a biotech enthusiast. So that was a fun episode. We'll probably talk more about science in the future because everyone really liked that. But now we're back
we can introduce ourselves just in case this is the first time you're listening.
Yes.
My name is David Michael Bennett. I play the spine in Steam Powered Giraffe.
My name is Chelsea Penyak. I'm a Walter worker with Steam Powered Giraffe.
And my name's Camille Penyak. I am also a Walter worker with Steam Powered Giraffe.
We're sisters. We all work with Steam Powered Giraffe here. So far, well, no, that's not true. Last week's guest is not in Steam Powered Giraffe, but
we have. It depends on who's
available.
Who's our guest and who's available. So far, we haven't delved too far outside of Steam Powered Giraffe just because of the convience of.
Well, and we're all introverts, and I don't think a lot of us
I don't really want strangers coming to my apartment, as I've said in other words. If I knew them personally, sure, but we're not gonna have strangers.
We're gonna grab someone off the street.
Yeah. But yeah, so we'll see what we're gonna talk about today. Since we usually talk about Steam Powered Giraffe because all of us are in there, and that makes it easy. Bunny and I can talk about lots of stuff ourselves, but since Bunny's not here, we're gonna open up the floor to talk about other things, topics that Bunny or myself would not normally talk about.
Yeah.
Because that was interesting last week with Aaliyah talking about stuff that we were like, yeah, I have a vague interest, in just Googling things and like, oh, this is what I remember from college, but biology is always interesting.
And Camille and I are both classically trained ballet dancers from very early ages, so that'll be interesting I've never sat down and just talked about my life experiences with people who didn't live that life, so we'll see how that goes. I'm sure we'll talk about staging the ballets for Steam Powered Giraffe as well, because even though we have lots of experience in ballet, that was our first foray into actually choreographing ourselves. So yeah, we've got that on the plate today probably, and we'll answer questions from people, and also I think we were going to start with some, typical discussion for us. Video games.
First, I want to talk about Steam Powered Giraffe shows because we didn't do that last time. So November, we only had Yomicon this month, but our next show that Steam Powered Giraffe will be headed out to is our annual Yule-Miss special in Bakersfield, California. So if you're looking to see a Steam Powered Giraffe show in California, it's happening December 17th. That's a Saturday. There's still tickets. We got the whole theater to ourselves. It's just going to be a Steam Powered Giraffe show. That's a 2-hour-long show. That's not as normal for us, but we make it kind of special. So look that up on www.steampoweredgiraffe.com if you're interested in the band. I think that'll close out all the concerts we'll have for the rest of the year, and then we'll get back to you all with January shows. We definitely have a pending San Diego show, and hopefully we can secure that venue for that one.
Have you guys ever done a show later in the year than Bakersfield? Because I know that usually closes out the season for you.
Yeah, there's been maybe years ago we did like a New Year's thing. But no, for the most part,
that's it.
Yeah. So now, yeah, usually that's the end of the year. But we're working on music videos right now. So as well as the act for next year, which if you're not aware, we usually refresh the act every year. Not like super drastically but new songs from different albums. We usually try to keep the set roughly the same from January to December, just so if you're going to see us one place, it's usually the same show. I mean, you ever take a few songs changing out, but that way you're not missing out on anything. But yeah, January we'll definitely have some new songs on stage, as well as bits and new visuals. It's just,
so much stuff in the works.
It's a new act every year, pretty much.
It's exciting, but it's like nothing we can talk about right now.
No, it would just spoil everything.
Yeah.
Spoil all the surprises. So yeah, Bunny will be back next week, just in case any of you are missing out on us saying that online and whatnot. Yeah, let's talk about video games. We don't really have it. This is the first time we kind of discussed beforehand, like 5 minutes beforehand, like what we'd want to talk about.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that's a schedule. We're still keeping it loose. We can talk about anything. I don't really care what we talk about.
It's probably always going to start with video games because new video games are always coming out and there's always new stuff to watch.
If it doesn't start there, it ends there.
Well.
Yeah.
So the video games.
Well, Camille's playing.
I've been playing Dishonored 2, which I've really liked. I'm only about 5 hours in, but I haven't gone very far in those 5 hours because I'm one of those people who the world that they've made is so immersive.
Full of dead whales.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. What's with
really
that?
Weird. It's a really strange world. If you've played the first one, it was very different and odd, but. I don't know, you get pulled into it and you want to read all the, extra diary entries and stuff. So.
I never played Dishonored, but watching other people played, it reminds me of BioShock, very steampunky kind of.
Yeah, the visual style's kind of leaning towards that.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a BioShock influence, but I don't know, it's hard to describe. It takes from a lot of different things.
I played the first one. I beat it. The story wasn't very engaging for me. The gameplay was all right. But to be fair, I didn't really care for BioShock's gameplay either.
I love BioShock.
The first one was the most gameplay I felt. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, I like the first one a lot for the story.
Yeah, I like the story in all the BioShocks.
That big twist, that big centerpiece plot point near the middle of the game is that made me that's what stands out to me. That's why I would want to play it again.
They kind of, like I said in Dishonored, they made this world that was just so amazingly, fleshed out. But on the other hand, they did something really unique in terms of gameplay and how, the first-person narrative. I don't know. It's kind of like not breaking the fourth wall, but you would know.
Wait,
I don't want to spoil it for
Dishonored?
anyone. No. In the
in
first
BioShock.
Yeah. You're going along. You're finding your way to all these places, but they twist it on you.
The gameplay is pretty
clever.
solid in those games. It's not very challenging from what I remember from the three of them, but
it's fun.
The story was definitely, and the world was. That's what is the draw, and that's why I played all three. The second one I don't remember hardly anything of, but I think that was the least memorable.
I played.
Critically, it was the lowest rated, right?
Team.
I think I played BioShock 2 after Infinite.
Yeah.
And I actually enjoyed it more than
It was
Infinite.
made by a different team because they, they wanted it out quicker than they could do it. And Infinite was the real second one they wanted to tell. But
Sure.
I liked 2.
2's weird because it's not you're like you said, it's not the same team, and it's not necessary to the story, but like I actually really enjoyed it for being kind of like a second tier sequel,
It was fun.
Yeah, I wish I could comment on the new Dishonored, but it's not running too hot on PCs right now.
The cool thing they've got going is that right at the beginning you can choose who to play as.
I got to the first proper mission where you first see, I guess, a dead whale. I'm in the first proper mission.
That's like literally all I know about. I don't know. I just saw a dead whale on the docks.
They're not whales. They're like
they're sea monsters.
Because nothing in the game is
the art style is very.
Yeah.
They look like the sea monsters
you see on
classical maps.
But they're essentially whales.
But the first thing I ever saw of Dishonored was last night when you're like walking along the docks and there's like a big dead whale being butchered, and I'm
Chelsea,
like,
let me show you how crappy it runs on my 2 Titan X's, my 2 Pascal Titan XS.
I guess the main thing they've got going for them this time is replay value. You get a completely different.
That's pretty good. I like the gameplay is interesting too.
Yeah.
And the stealth is interesting, and combined with the powers of, figuring out how to make your way to the end, you could do just so many different things. And that's kind of what's fun.
I played the first one. I tried to play the first one as stealthy, and then I'm like, but I just realized it was so much easier to kill everyone in sight.
I would probably.
It really
kill
was
everyone
like
in
civilians,
sight.
everything.
I try to do stealth, but I'm like 3 hours in, I'm already high chaos. So.
That's always good with a game where you don't fail. Like I hate games that they make you fail when the stealth doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But I like this. I like stealth in like games like Metal Gear Solid, like the newest one. That was like, it worked great because it rewarded stealth was the easiest way to play because. Because going in guns a-blazing is like an option, especially if stealth doesn't work out. But like it's more rewarding if you do the stealth. However, I feel like, at least from my small time with the second one and knowing the first one, it felt like, other than, I guess it changes your outcome of the story, so there is a reason to play stealth, but I don't know. It is easy just to like run around and hit everyone with a sword.
It's fun if you... Like Dishonored's fun if you take the time to, explore and figure out your favorite way of making your way to the end of each level. And
that's what I can't really comment on that because I haven't played Dishonored, but that's what I felt was lacking from BioShock, especially Infinite, because BioShock Infinite felt very linear in a way that it shouldn't have.
It was pretty boring for me.
It's hard when you have a very strict, complex story you want to tell.
Yeah.
It's hard to have a play your own way when it's a very complicated story.
Yeah, it definitely felt like okay, here's some people to kill, but all I was playing it for is like this might as well be a movie because the gameplay is there and it works, but it wasn't what was drawing me to the game.
It was much more cinematic than the others.
But they're all well polished games, so I don't want to get too negative on them.
I really liked Infinite playing it the first time because of all the twists and turns and the story and the world, but I don't think it has as much replay value as the other two.
Sure.
What?
Infinite.
Yeah, because the gameplay, it did feel a little linear.
It's definitely beautiful when you first.
They didn't even advertise it that way. Like when the first like trailer or whatever came out, it definitely made it feel like you have this open world. But then that was looked like it was just a demo. It turned out or something.
It was disappointing because like. If anyone knows BioShock Infinite and the story like that is something that's so up my alley. The idea of the story is just like that's everything I love in a story and like a universe in a video game or a book series or something and like I just wanted to love it so much for the story, but I like couldn't get through the gameplay. I made you finish it for me.
How they connect to the original BioShock, that was really neat, but like after the first hour or so, you're a fugitive, and that doesn't allow you to explore the way you want. You always have to be on edge.
Yeah, I remember going in like, looking around at everything, and then eventually it's like, okay, now I can't really take the time to do that.
That was my favorite part of Infinite was the very beginning before, shit
like,
hits the fan.
I watched this kid with the bread enough. And listen to the barbershop quartet sing the pop songs. Right?
That was fun.
But yeah, I liked all that. So yeah, good game. Dishonored story so far, at least from the first one to the second one, what I've seen, not as interesting. Because like they're like what is it? I'm sure there'll be a twist, but right now it's pretty generic.
Yeah.
Generic. I don't know. In the grand scheme of how many video games I've played.
Yeah.
And stories I've seen. It's like or movies you watch or TV shows.
Yeah.
Like, eventually it's like I want something a little more.
Yeah, I think their main, function is gameplay.
Yeah. I mean, I think all the reviews are the same. It's like, it's solid gameplay, improvements from the first one, always a step forward in every direction. But the story is kind of like, whatever.
That's what the first one was too. They created this really cool stealth system that I think they kind of want to own now and expand upon.
Yeah.
I wasn't too excited when it was coming out. I mean, I definitely liked playing even the first Dishonored, but it's not one I would revisit. It wasn't like, I want to play that again. It was like, I was kind of like, by the end, I was kind of like, okay, I'm done. But yeah, hopefully they patched the PC up, because it's playable. It's just, it has all these weird hiccups and stuff, and that ain't cool.
I just started Skyrim on PS4. It took me like an hour and a half to create my character, and then I turned it off because I was tired, but I'll get back to that
me with Dragon
eventually.
Age Inquisition. You put so much time into creating your perfect main character, and then you're like, wow, it's been
I still think like most people would find like my characters pretty boring, because whenever I have like a character creator in a game, I always just try and just make me. Like, this is me if I was running around Skyrim, so it's just like I pick, I look pretty average compared to all the crazy variations I could do. I just want to be me.
I don't make it look like me, but usually the hair color is always mine.
Yeah.
I don't really make myself anymore. I used to, and now I don't know.
Yeah. It's that Sims mentality. I grew up with Sims. You have to make it the perfect version of yourself.
It's more so that it's really tough. It's like, to make yourself, because they're gonna have someone who doesn't have a full head of hair, and it's somewhere in between. It's like balding hairstyle isn't an option on there. They have you're either all bald and you have that weird monk look, or I'm like, well, I don't look like that.
Oh my god!
Yet.
There is like, I always want like a big head of curly blonde hair, but I usually just end up with a really generic bland white lady with blonde hair with a
curly hair is at this point way too hard to animate, to put time and effort in.
Yeah, when I made my Inquisitor character in Dragon Age, she was like so plain, because I like wanted to make me, but the only hairstyle close to mine was just like short bushy hair. I'm like, okay, she could look a lot more interesting, but like I don't want a buzz cut or a mohawk or something. There's nothing else that looks good.
So yeah, since I can't make it look like me, just make it.
These are the real problems. Can't make me in a video game. That's how I feel.
I've been replaying SteamWorld Heist, actually, which
you've been playing that a lot.
SteamWorld Heist now available for iOS and Wii U, PlayStation 4,
I actually really, really like that game
PC,
a lot.
Mac, Linux.
The strategy and turn-based is very fun.
I haven't finished it yet.
I've been trying to get like all the extra achievements and trophies.
Xbox One next year.
The extra hats are really hard to find. They're actually like really rare. So whenever I see some,
and some of them don't appear until you go to New Game Plus, right?
I am not actually positive about that.
Maybe it's just the chances go up.
But
we could ask Image and Form.
We could
send them a tweet.
I did start New Game Plus, and it seemed like I was getting more, but who knows?
I've been playing it on my phone, but I've already beaten it twice on other devices.
I want to get it on my phone,
but I definitely haven't done the go and try to collect everything.
I had it on I have it on PS4, and I got to the last area, the Royalists, but I haven't beat it yet.
It's also, I find it really challenging, and I played it on
it's
I
hard.
had to change it from normal to casual on my first playthrough. But
I'm playing on the easiest level, and it's hard for me.
I changed it to New Game Plus, and I changed it to normal this time, and I'm still finding it difficult, even though
I went through and changed the difficulty based on the mission. Like, I was like, my people aren't leveled up, I'm gonna play it on easy.
Yeah.
But you can grind a little bit to make a level.
And when you grind, you might also find new hats and stuff. Yeah. But there are like trophies where you have to combine different hats to get them.
Right.
There's no real like list of what to do, so it's kind of fun right now, just trying to do it on my own.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone had the chat open, but I just happened to see a comment, a question regarding SteamWorld Heist asking what our favorite loadouts are. I guess they mean like characters, like what characters do you use? Yeah.
I always use Piper.
Me too.
Yeah, well, you can't not use Piper.
I thought you can.
You can?
I thought you could switch her out.
Yeah, I think
What? You can switch her out?
Yeah.
What?
You can. Okay, we're gonna check right now. I'm pretty sure
I'm probably in the middle of a battle.
Regardless, I always have Piper in there because I really like the laser.
Wait, but like that depends on the gun, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's also others that can use them, but I don't know. She's always there, and so she's always my highest level.
Well, yeah, the classes, the sharpshooters or whatever.
Yeah. I also use Fen, who is part of the DLC.
Me too.
I really like him.
He reminds me of the Journeyers from that game company's Journey with the little red cloak. I don't know why, I just like him a lot. I use him all the time.
His like I can't remember what it's called now, but it like pierces through a bunch of characters. I like just got the trophy last night where you pierce through 4 people at once. It was like amazing.
Wow.
And then usually someone with like the heavy machine gun, or not machine gun, but
the guy on the wheel. What's his name?
Payroll.
I like him.
Yeah, either Beatrice or
Well, I'll be damned. You can switch her out.
But that's my ideal party. But I wanted the trophy to get everyone to level 10, so I've been using.
I always use her because I like sharpshooters, and then I use another is he a sentry? I can't remember. I use Valentine.
Oh yeah, I like him too.
Valentine.
And
he's the one who wanted to be a ballerina.
Oh yeah.
His dream is to be a ballerina.
No.
Not. Oh, sorry.
That's the one with the weight.
That's I'm getting them mixed up.
What's his name?
I don't know. I didn't use
He's
him.
like the Russian one.
Ivansky?
Yeah. I think. Yeah.
But SteamWorld Heist. It's a fun game.
We like it.
It's kind of a mix of XCOM and
Billy
platforming. It's kind of like Worms in some sense with the ricocheting shooting mechanics.
But no, it's really fun.
It's also great for fun because it's not real time. It's like turn-based, so it's perfect for like picking up and putting down.
Yeah.
The soundtrack's good too.
And and Steam Powered Giraffe did the soundtrack. So if you like any of the songs in there, half of them are redone old versions from past albums, which we thought was a fun thing.
Even if I wasn't biased and Steam Powered Giraffe hadn't done the music, this is a really good game. I'm gonna.
Oh yeah. I played their
I bought
other
it on
one.
PS4. I'm gonna buy it on iPhone. Yeah.
I got really excited when they had like the cloud hair hat. I pretty much put that on
Which
Piper all
brings
the time.
us to our next thing to talk about. They have Final Fantasy hair in there you can unlock. But generic fantasy
Final
hair.
Fantasy 15 coming out in 9 days.
This is
Camille. I pre-ordered it.
Me too. Did you pre-order the special edition?
I did, but only because I want the co-op.
Mine's the $90 one.
Oh yeah, it was like 80 something.
It comes with like the cool artwork by.
Oh, I got the digital version.
Okay, well I have like the cover with the artwork by Yoshitaka.
I paid almost the same as you, and I get nothing physical.
Well, you get the Blu-ray of the movie with like Aaron Paul. And stuff.
Is that the
Kingsglaive?
Kingsglaive?
I have not watched it yet.
Are you waiting to right before you play the game?
Because it came out digitally a while ago, but I didn't want to pay to buy it since I already technically paid for it.
So you're a huge Final Fantasy fan. So
we have to talk about Final Fantasy
does that take
when Camille's here.
A lot of willpower to not watch it?
Sorta. I wasn't that, anticipating it that much, but I went to the panel at Comic-Con for it, and they showed the whole opening, and they were talking about it with the voice actors and stuff. Aaron Paul was not there. He sent a message or whatever. But no, it looked really cool, if only for the animation.
I haven't seen any footage of it.
But it's kind of strange because obviously the game is done in.
Wait.
What?
Is it traditional animation like an anime?
No,
it's like it's like the FMV series.
Yeah, it's like a full movie of.
Oh, okay.
FMV.
For some reason, I thought it was like an anime.
No,
I have no idea. I haven't seen anything about it.
But
we'll get to talking about something you know about.
But it looks pretty amazing. But the weird thing is they had a separate team make it, so all of the character models look very Western looking, and they don't really look the same.
Are any of them going to cross over into the game? Or is it completely separate?
I don't think so.
And
but
does
I
the
don't know.
story does the story link it together somehow?
They do, yeah. It's like a prequel.
I'll probably
Camille, you
watch
should
it.
know everything,
It's like a
even if
prequel
it's
to
not out
the
yet.
game.
Well, she hasn't watched it yet.
But I haven't watched it yet, and obviously I haven't played the game yet.
Yeah.
Well, we've all played
weird.
the intro, apparently. That's basically how this game starts.
It's weird when
What?
you've been waiting for this game
The demo.
announced 10 years ago.
Yeah. We were...
And I was 14 years old.
Yeah,
so.
we were like kids, and we were downloading the trailer, and it took like 2
I wasn't
hours.
there.
Dial-up.
No,
Don't look
not
at
you.
me. I don't know what you're talking about.
We were like,
I mean, I was a kid, but we didn't know each other.
what was that? 2005 they announced it?
2006.
2006.
At
Yeah,
E3.
I don't remember when dial-up stopped being a thing, but it feels like that's what we were on.
It was, I mean, it was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, and I remember
And
downloading that trailer. It took hours,
Back
and it's like
then-
you watch it frame by frame as it loads.
Yeah.
Like that's what you did it as a kid.
It was not called 15 at the time. It was called Versace 13.
Yeah.
So it's gone through many changes. Who knows if it's even remotely the same video game anymore.
It's crazy.
I can't imagine
It's
it would be
finally
because
coming
they've
out.
already had like the
I mean-
sequels to the other one, and if they were working on it at that time, they probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably-
they changed it to 15 3 years ago officially, and that was probably the best idea they've ever
So
made.
did they always want it to be a boy band game?
That's the only downside.
I mean, they say there might be female DLC
Yeah.
if there's enough.
But
Oh,
the cool
boy.
If
thing
people
about
complain enough, no, I don't know.
Final Fantasy was always cool because you had a, party full of lots of different characters and
Yeah, like Final Fantasy 12 is an even split. You can have an entire party of all female characters. Aren't most
I can't
of them like
really
that?
like
Yeah, most of them
think
have it.
about
You can switch it
numbers
out, yeah.
exactly, but most of them are pretty even.
But
So
yeah.
it's kind of disappointing.
They
for
really
sure.
wanted to tell a story about male friendship,
Ugh.
Camille.
Oh my god.
I mean, the white males are hurting
oh
No.
right now.
yeah, not. Yeah, I can't say kind of.
Their voices need
it's,
to be
It's
heard.
extremely
They do not. They do
disappointing.
not. Let's just for the record.
We're joking.
Just take a step back, white males. You don't.
Yeah, so that's not
Your
the
time in the
best.
sun is. This is not about video games. This is just
No,
about it.
yeah.
Whatever. Like, okay,
Yes.
just step back.
Just. We don't need to hear it.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but for anyone listening, what's your favorite Final Fantasy as a fan of the series?
7.
Yes. Okay.
And
And why? Sorry, I'm like being moderator here.
mean,
And why is that,
a
Camille?
lot. You'll hear that from a lot of people.
Which is weird to me because I played 7, 8, 9, and 10, and a little bit of the other ones. But that one is my least
Well,
favorite.
It's subjective.
It's got an amazing story, and
I was just gonna say, I'm not even that big of a fan of the Final Fantasy series, but I know the story, and I think a lot of it has to do with how strong the story is.
But
It's
yeah,
very-
because I played it wasn't like the graphics. Like the graphics are crappy
It's
compared to the
about
others.
like it's actually emotional.
But I remember
like,
playing
It
it,
is.
and like back when whenever it came out,
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend who had it, and that's what got me into it. And I was like, oh, I got to buy myself a copy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was I remember the story vaguely, but when you talk about it, it's like I've never played the game.
I mean, there's just so
There's a
much.
lot to
There's a
it.
lot to uncover. You can play the game and just go straight through it and miss tons of information.
yeah.
There's just so much backstory that you might miss. Just going, you might even miss 2 characters in your party.
I've like watched you play, and you've been like playing scenes where 2 characters are like having a dialogue between each other, and you'll point out like really subtle foreshadowing or subtext that
Yeah.
points to something that happens later on,
Well,
and
you've
I'm
played
like,
it how many
what?
times now?
Oh, I can't even
Like,
count.
That
I've just played
Did
it
you-
recently with the
I'm-
PS4.
Did you get it on your iPhone?
No, but I got it when the PS4 released it last Christmas.
like I don't know why
I platinumed
I've
it
always been
already.
impressed or shocked.
Congrats.
It's like why can't like I don't know why I'm shocked that game is so deep and has so much going on so many different levels. I think it's just because it's rare to see a video game with like a really strong script.
Well, back then, I mean, it was a big deal. It was a
It
big
was
deal.
a
I mean,
big
the other
deal.
Final Fantasies,
I mean, 6
were
is
great
good.
too. Like
Has
that
if you go
too.
back to the Nintendo, Super Nintendo.
I
or
think,
whatever.
like since it was 1997 and there wasn't voice acting and stuff, they utilized the technology with what they had like very well. Like, things that aren't spoken that can have like little pop-ups of an inner monologue, and it just it works so well.
And that's also impressive considering it's translated, and it still comes off as a really good story.
There were translation errors, but it's still very good. And I mean, there's a lot of themes that you can talk about that are really...
Yeah, it's got that big anti... or pro-environmentalist
and just
theme or
lots
whatever,
of
and
stuff
there's lots
about
of
life
stuff
and death. And
do you think the 7... Because I've heard you talk about the story, and I remember my friend talking about the story when I was a kid, and when he showed me the game, it was somewhere in the middle, and he was like, oh, you play this, but I didn't know what was going on at the time. So when I eventually went back and played it myself as a kid, it was, I remember beating it, but I don't remember the story. Is that because I haven't? Because if you only played the game once, would you? It's so weird that I don't have a memory of the story, but
I've never played it, but even
I only played 8 and 9. I played 9 maybe 1.5 times. No, twice.
I've read summaries of the whole game, and I know the story from Camille, but there's still a lot that confuses me about it.
I guess it just
doesn't
the whole
well,
the main character.
After one play.
I mean, we don't care about spoilers, right? Because this game is so old.
It's spoilers.
The fact that for half of the game or more, the main character thinks he's someone else, and there's a bunch of he has amnesia, and there's this whole double identity issue. There's still a lot there that I don't even. I don't understand a lot of it still.
A lot of people.
Wait, was Cloud actually Cloud at this point, or was he still thinking he was someone else?
A lot of people finish the game, and because they let you find stuff out for yourself, and because you're just reading what's happening and stuff, a lot of people finish the game and they think that Cloud wasn't real, or there wasn't actually a person named Cloud, which is what you're kind of trying to figure out. A lot of people don't get it, and they just take that as what happened. But you really got to pay attention.
I probably just didn't care at the time.
It's very complicated, and
it's because of the trauma, right? He forgets who he is and assumes the identity of his dead friend or something.
Yeah, because of the weird experiments that happen
and he
to
doesn't
him.
realize he's pretending to be his friend until halfway through the game, and he's oh, that's not who I am.
I don't remember any of this.
But putting aside the compilation of FF7, which is all the spin-offs and stuff, which I don't even consider canon at all.
So you don't none of those Advent Children stuff?
Oh, I played Crisis Core and enjoyed it, but it's
Crisis Core is really
good. Does it expand upon the story, or is it just
it's not I
is it just fluff?
Story.
It's just a way for them to make money, and
You don't think it adds to the story? That's why Cloud has blonde hair.
You added that
fun,
J-pop guy to it.
No, but it's fun if you're a fan of the series. You could maybe just escape into another game for a while. But I basically consider that original game as that's where it started and that's where it ended, and the ending even is left very open. You can kind of decide for yourself whether they all died at the end. And there's sounds at the end of the credits.
I remember the one lady dying with she had the red cardigan and the bow in her hair.
That's a famous spoiler,
I mean, it was. I remembered it was a big deal.
Yeah.
But you know what? When I think about all these games, it's I only played them through once, and I'm sure as a kid they resonated with me in some way. But the only one I remember, which one was your favorite? It was I remember really liking 9.
Yeah.
9 is excellent, and I always, 7 has to be at the top for me, but 9 is
close second.
I mean, 8.
7, 9, and 12 are all my favorites, but I think 9 is a second place.
8 impressed me when it came out because it went the leap from 7 to 8 was
the graphical.
It was on the same. It was on the same system. It was on PlayStation. So
yeah, that was a huge leap forward for them.
But and I don't remember the story. I remember some of the cutscenes, and I thought that some of the songs were catchy, but I don't really remember it being great
the
or anything.
Soundtracks. Well, I mean, Nobuo Uematsu does all the music is.
I remember the waltz
really
of the.
So great. I mean, everything he does.
I remember that. That's gonna be in my head for the rest of my life.
Everything he does is good, but he oftentimes talks about how 9 is his favorite project he worked on. Nobuo Uematsu.
Oh yeah, composer.
The way that it looks, I don't really care for cartoony stuff, but for whatever reason, 9 was just so much. I didn't really care for the art style, but I just really liked it.
Pretty much everything right.
I never played it,
return
but
to nostalgia.
I love the soundtrack.
It's very.
I don't even like monkeys, and I like that game.
Yeah.
Because the main character.
Monkey?
Well, he
has a monkey tail.
What is he, a Saiyan or something, or what?
Well, what is he?
I don't remember. I don't remember the story.
Game.
I played it. I beat it. I played it twice through, and in fact, the second time I played it through, my best friend Richard, when I was a kid, we would play co-op because you could assign
Yeah.
like different controllers to different characters, and that's kind of like co-op. And you know, we played it through the summer, and it was great.
Yeah.
But I don't remember I don't remember the story. That's probably just
Hopefully,
because
they're gonna release it to PS4 soon because
Isn't
it got
it
remastered for Steam just like 7
I think
days.
it's on phone already.
Yeah.
I think.
iPhone and Steam. So logically, if they're going by what 7 did, PS4.
Yeah.
But to be fair, if I have to read subtitles for a Japanese game ever again, it'll be too soon.
Yeah.
Like even Pokemon's really tough. I'm like, it's
They
not that
just-
I don't like reading. It's just that
Well, I think
They're
even,
just known for that, like so much reading.
Well, I think even worse sometimes is voice acting for them.
I
You're
know.
right,
Which
you're
would
right,
you
you're
rather
right.
have?
Converted to English.
I mean, it's pretty much the same. It just kind of drawn out. I tried to get
The
through 13,
translations are
13.2,
pretty
and
bad
13.3.
sometimes.
I got maybe
13 is rough.
25% of the way through 13.2, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
I mean, just because like I've played them all, and like you find things in each one that you enjoy, but as a whole, I'm just like, you know.
I mean, I
Yeah.
can look at it graphically and like, I remember this game breaking, like 10 was great graphically. It showed off the PS2. That was like one of my first PS2 games too, and I was like, oh my god, it's amazing. But I don't remember the story, and replaying it like in HD, like, oh yeah, okay, it
There's
stands
a
up. But
giant monster named Sin. That's kind of like
Well,
all I know.
I just remember teach us how to blitz.
I can,
Blitzball.
I can
Yeah.
defend like anything basically. 10 has a really
ready.
strong story too.
Does it?
It has a really strong story.
Yeah, I never played it once again, but I've seen the ending. I've seen you play it, and it has a good ending. Really good ending.
Yeah.
I just remember blitzball, and I'm like, I don't
Well,
like
it's
sports.
that. I mean,
I don't like sports.
A lot of those Final Fantasies,
I don't like their
even if I
costumes either,
haven't
that
played them, there's elements to the story that they do the emotion very well, and they know how to like tug at your heartstrings. Like I always think of the Black Mage character in 9.
Eevee.
I've never
Oh,
even
yeah.
played
Oh
that
my
game,
God.
but
Well,
that
he's
broke
based
my
off
heart.
of like the first
When I,
Final
like,
Fantasy games,
watched
right?
you
He's supposed to
play
look
it.
at like a. He's supposed to be
Yeah.
like a mage from the.
But like, it's like
At
they
least
have
his
really
design or
short
whatever.
lifespans or something, right? And
Yeah.
like,
I like that.
And
I
he's
like
just a
it.
kid, and it's just like it's so sad.
it's really sad. And
Well, like 10 is all about like faith, and
Yeah.
you go forward 1,000 years, and you just like realize that things get misinterpreted, and I mean that's a small aspect of it, but it's got some really good stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of these. I mean, I know they're probably popular in their native country, and it's great that Americans can resonate with them too. But I think that's a big barrier for people to play these games. Is the controls don't always make a little sense, just even from a turn-based game. But also just the reading and clicking, and like you're always. It's so old, and they haven't really changed it. But the new ones, even like you can just everything's basically a cutscene. Like in 13, like it flows pretty well. There's not much. There's no reading anymore in any of the Final Fantasies, from what I remember.
yeah.
But that was a big hurdle to get over. I know for other people. Like as a kid, I mean, you play so many RPGs maybe on your. Because I played on like Sega Genesis and Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and like back then it was easy to get into them, but then when you get spoiled with video games that are like movies,
Well, I
it's
feel
like
like they're trying to be more like different with
Yeah.
this new one, appeal to
well, I like
other
that because
audiences.
because
So we'll see what happens.
It doesn't mean that they can't go and make another turn-based or
No, they're
action
talking
system.
about, every game gets a different team, and they've, hinted at making 16 very different, so.
But 15 being
Honestly, at this
action would
point,
be
I'm just
nice.
like, I just want 15 out so I could look forward to 16.
I was gonna say there was that. It's probably not true, but there's that rumor that demo from a while ago was gonna
Agnes
be
philosophy.
was gonna be Final Fantasy 16.
What?
There's always rumors
Which one?
about
What's
that.
your
They used it
I just
as
remember
their-
feathers. Is there some like
Feathers.
It's like a girl.
where
tech demo or something?
yeah,
They
it was a
used
tech
as
demo.
like a tech demo. Every time they get new technology, they use that Agnes philosophy base to like show off all their new technology.
It was a tech demo for PS4, right? Originally?
It's been like
they
PS4,
build on it.
and then when something new happens, they do it again. So there's been like 3. People always conspiracy theories about that one. Honestly, it's just like I've lived 10 years knowing like
For
what
this
the
game,
next
yeah.
one is gonna be. That I want there to be like a blank slate. Like for 10 years, this has been the only thing Final Fantasy is gonna do.
Yeah.
So
I can't imagine See, I don't know if it's not that the bar is really low, but I'm pretty sure the game, based on what I've seen in the demos and stuff, because I even played a little bit of the Japanese demo, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good game. Like, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, it's like you're going to like it.
Looks like it's going to be solid.
But
it's got some solid early reviews.
Because to me, 13, that's like the lowest that they've gone in my mind.
It was exhausting.
13 was.
It was
pretty
just
bad.
like a giant like. It was so. What's the word?
Convoluted.
That's
how I felt.
A lot of the Final Fantasies got very convoluted. I mean, even I'll admit that like I feel like there's a lot going on in Final Fantasy 12, even though I like it and I love the story. There's still a lot that doesn't really need to be there, probably, because it's a long game. It's like, you know, a game is 20 hours long or whatever. There's going to be a lot of story in it.
I don't know if I agree with like that in terms of 12, because 12 had everything it needed, and side quests and stuff were just automatically a part of
I had never played
RPGs
12.
Like
that came out at the end of the PlayStation 2 life cycle. So PlayStation 3 came out, and I got a PS3, and I was like, oh, I really wanted to play that, but never did.
Lucky for you, it's coming out
But
soon.
we'll see. Wait, that one's full voiceover, right? I don't have to like click through a bunch of...
No, it's full voiceover.
Yeah,
the voice acting's good.
You're right. I shouldn't say that about 12.
All RPGs have that. Witcher has that.
It has a long story, but you're right. It's more complex than convoluted. I think I'm thinking of all of the expansions to the 7 universe, like Crisis Core.
Yeah, that's just
whatever all those were.
Popcorn.
I feel like 13 was a continuation of that, where it was getting so convoluted that you couldn't follow the storyline anymore. And I feel like they were like going at breakneck speed with, and here's another one. Here's 13.3. You know, like it doesn't need 2 sequels.
Thoughts about 13.
And now I feel like 15 might be getting back to like basics. Sorry.
13. Yeah.
What?
Sorry.
Here's your thoughts on
sorry.
13.
The story is just, don't even try to figure it out and keep up with it.
I mean, I understood it, but
the things it had going for it was like the first game had, the graphics at the time were good. The gameplay was very strategic. So depending on what battle, you had to figure out who to put in your party and what like roles to give them, and that
for 13.
Yeah, sometimes depending on what roles you gave everyone, your paradigms they called them, you would just fail at
I got used to it. I got used to that, but that turned me off the first time.
If you figured it out, you would win.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun, especially with all the side quests and stuff. And like 2 and 3, they just wanted to do different stuff. They did a time travel game in the second one. It was kind of fun with kind of like Pokemon.
I played a little
capture
bit of it,
monsters and stuff. And 3 was really bizarre. It was like a doomsday clock and all side quests.
Never got to that one.
There were things I enjoyed about them, but as a whole, I don't know, it just felt kind of flat.
When I played 13 for the first time on PS3s, which is what it came out for originally, it was like I hadn't played a Final Fantasy games other than like the MMO 11, right? Was the 11 was the last one I played. So it was 10 was the most proper one, and going from that turn-based system to whatever the heck 13 was, I was like turned off immediately. I was like, "What the heck is this?"
Whatever it was.
Because I thought it looked great, but I was like, I just didn't understand it. But because that's just as a Final Fantasy person like past, and then because they didn't have much Final Fantasies in between that. That was a long time.
Sorry, I just want a cookie.
So I never played it, and then I went back, after knowing the new one would come out. I think it was last year, and then I played it finally, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I get how it works, and I mean, it was enjoyable. But at the same time, by the end of the story, I was like, felt like I was slogging through it, and I don't like playing games like that.
Luckily, Final Fantasy is, they thrive on change. Each title,
they're all standing their own. Yeah,
kind of like Steam Powered Giraffe, thriving on change, right?
Yeah, all of our albums, you don't have to listen to the other ones. I don't know. It's like most albums. You're not gonna understand this music if you haven't heard our other music before. No, no, they all stand. Yeah, stand alone.
It's like they can trip up here and then move forward and do something completely different.
But I'm excited for 15. My only issue, this is hitting this. I should probably put this this way. The only thing that I'm worried about is the performance on PS4.
My PlayStation's old, and the fan gets very loud, and I can barely hear. I have to put my headphones in because I don't want it.
I played the Japanese demo on my PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro, when I got the Pro recently, and they had a mode in the options. I had to use Google Translate to figure out what it was. They have a mode that's like because I don't have a 4K TV. I'm not made of money like that, but it upscales it and stuff. It makes it look better. So they have a mode that's like better performance or better quality, and I can see the difference between the quality and performance, but I did not see an increase in frame rate. And I'm like, really? Because it's supposed to be like a high frame rate mode, and I know they were trying to target 1080p 60 frames a second, but it wasn't doing it. It wasn't doing it.
Oh.
But they did say that there was that patch for the base game is going to come out sometime in December. So I'm pretty sure it's because those first demos were like running at like 24 frames a second or something.
Well, I doubt that first demo is even going to have any type of gameplay that's in the final version.
That's the only one I've played for 15 so far.
Course,
that very first demo, and it was pretty bad.
The first patch, it completely almost changed, and it was way easier.
Did you ever? I can't. Now that I've played like the Japanese ones and the American one, did you ever play the pushing of the car part? Was that one of the demos you played?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna take it back.
Okay, so that one was just turn that off. Yeah. Put it on.
Just keep talking about Final Fantasy.
But
so basically, I kind of
really taking people's suggestions and stuff.
But so hopefully the performance, because they're also like, we'll talk about a PC port later, because it would be really cool to see what that looks like if it's done well. Unfortunately, all their other ports of their newer Final Fantasy games have been crap on PC, and that's what I played them on. You know, PC Master Race, they gotta have the best graphics. But I got it on PS4, and I will struggle through the inconsistent frame rate just to experience it. But I guess I don't blame them. I mean, it looks like a big game, and it looks great for running at a choppy frame rate.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like Square Enix itself is spreading itself thin these days with how many projects we know that they have going on.
What other ones do they have going on?
They're completely remastering Final Fantasy VII.
Oh yeah, you're right. And that one's going to be like an episodic kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so that they can...
Which I think is a smart move.
I think it's going off of the amount of, backlash, if you want to call it, 10 years waiting for 15.
Yeah, I mean, now you're going to wait, 2 years or something? And you're going to get, maybe a 6-10 hour game or something?
So I think that one is a lot farther along than we think, because they gave us a lot of gameplay instantly right off the bat. But it'll be easier to wait when you have a chunk of it already.
Sure. And also it's good for marketing, because if it horribly fails, they can either make the next one up the ante a bit or just scrap it altogether. And then,
I don't think it's something they could do with a new game. But
right.
Since it's a game everyone knows.
I don't. But I would be interested to see how they're going to retell it, because
it's going to be completely different.
There's some people have thought boy, this would make a really cool movie, and that's essentially what you're getting. You're getting, because most video games now, especially the Final Fantasy ones, even 13 was they're told like a really long movie.
I guess my worries for it, since I'm such a big fan of the original, and
voice acting, maybe.
Voice acting. The people they have for the 7, characters, that some of them are good and some of them are bad.
Who's a good and bad one? Because I don't know.
The guy who does Cloud is actually pretty bad.
Bad? You don't like him? Yeah. Are they using the same guy, or are they gonna have different?
Thinks about him. Since Kingdom Hearts came out, they've been using the same people for 7 and stuff. Well, originally they had Lance Bass as Sephiroth, which they don't anymore.
So are they? Is it going to be the same guy for Cloud for the new one?
Probably. He did a little bit of voice work in one of the trailers. So basically, the cast of Advent Children is probably what they're going to go off of. And I wish they wouldn't, because a lot of those people aren't very talented.
For the remake?
Yeah, Mandy Moore was actually better than the girl they have now for Aerith, so I don't know. But so voice acting, also just hoping it doesn't get that weird 13 vibe.
Yeah.
Things are just uncomfortable because the original is just so good.
There's an inevitable and an inevitable.
Maybe exposition. Because a lot of stuff in the original game is so mysterious, because you're not seeing it all.
I hope it's different than the main other game, but then that they are able to tie in all that other stuff somehow with the storytelling.
A lot of the twists like aren't in your face. It's just like subtle hints because they can't, show it.
So the discovery on the player's part rather than the game saying, giving you a reveal or something.
Translations a lot of the times from Japanese to English always have, I don't know, to me, like watching anime and stuff when you're listening to an English dub, just because the languages are structured different, there's always weird, awkward pauses.
Sure.
And that was something that I was really impressed with Final Fantasy XII, because the English voice acting for that game like had none of that. It sounded really natural, like it was made in English, and
I can see
I
that. A
appreciated
lot of
that.
I mean, it's like when you're watching. I mean, I'm not a huge anime fan, but I have like a few that I like, and like the subtitles is the way to go. Even though it's like if they do it right, like a Miyazaki film can be good in English, of course. But it's that when you're reading, you're hearing the original voice actors, and like there's probably some good dubs out there, but as a rule of thumb, it's like. I think the cultures are a little different unless you have someone who's translating really well that can kind of make that. It just sounds weird. It's like people don't really say that here. Why would they say that? Because it's a weird like. I always look at Dragon Ball Z as like is a weird one because, like they always say like okay, like as a response, and I'm like or great, yes, like it's a weird like You would say all right. You would say
in English, it's not the words they would use.
Right. It's always weird. But at the same time, I know a bit of it is like, well, you want to try to match up to the lip syncing as much as you.
Yeah.
You want to match up the lip syncing a little bit. Like you can't say you don't want the cartoon's mouth to go a little bit and then. But for most of these Final Fantasy games, they're redoing the animations. I would imagine for the because. From what I remember from 13, they sync up the mouths with the English language. So hopefully there's not going to be. They take just as much care as they do with the original Japanese cast.
I think they did for Final Fantasy XII as well, but it's been a long time since I played it, so I'm not sure.
But I mean, a lot of Japanese games that have like the English, they don't even bother like changing the mouths because it's like, who cares? But no, hopefully that'll be good.
Well.
As for, and there's the rumors for the DLC for this Final Fantasy 15 are kind of weird. Or I guess the announcements they've announced there might be female DLC but they've already announced that there's going to be DLC stories for each of the main boy band people who are not Noctis or whatever the main guy's name is. And then there's also going to be a VR add-on that'll be for Prompto, I guess.
Yeah.
So and that's coming to PSVR. I have one of those, so I'll see it. I'm sure it'll be nothing impressive. It'll just be like a fun mode. And then the other DLC that I heard they were making is a co-op missions.
Yes.
So but they haven't said anything about that, right?
They haven't.
Okay. So what do you know about the DLC? Because I kind of just was explaining.
I basically know nothing.
Okay.
I've been trying to stay away.
I guess that's smart.
I think a few copies got released a couple days ago, so there's already apparently lots of spoilers. And
you're like, well,
apparently uploaded the entire
for the next few
ending
weeks.
somewhere.
Oh
so
my god.
Like,
So the game comes out on the
29th.
The 29th?
Yes.
So not this week, but it comes out on 9 p.m. Monday, the 28th then.
I'll be
here.
there.
Because you have like a physical copy, right?
I do. I'm sure GameStop is doing something. I'm a member of GameStop and all that stuff.
Go at midnight to get it.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing is I'll be able to preload.
Whenever it comes out, 9 p.m.
I'll be able to preload.
Yeah. I don't work Tuesday, so.
But when you put in the disc, you'll have to spend a few hours.
Especially on our crappy internet.
I'll have coffee and I'll just like stay up all night.
Well, I don't know. I do want to segue eventually into ballet,
yes, we've
been
talking about
the first hour was all about Final Fantasy.
I did want to briefly touch on. I know I'm bringing up VR, but hey, it's tradition now, right? I wanted to say that I tried Google Earth in VR.
Oh, yes, that came out for the Vive last week.
Yes, and that was a really interesting experience. You should try it. It was very cool. I got a little sick at first, but there's different modes you can try. And I zoomed in.
I got sick, but...
I got a little sick, but no, they have like a safe mode or something.
Yeah.
And I was able to zoom in straight to our house and like stand on the street and look at it, and
This is going to
quite
be
an
great
experience.
for stalkers.
Well, like if you've ever used Google Earth, it's kind of like Google Maps. It's pulling similar data, but Google Earth, if you go down to street level, it's like the polygons aren't very. I mean, it kind of knows where the buildings are and stuff.
Yeah, it's not.
The car, everything looks very
low quality.
and the textures are like from satellites, so they're not like they're pretty high resolution for what they are. But if you go down to street level, even on Google Earth, like on your desktop, it doesn't look.
It's still a surreal experience, like standing on our street and being like, "Oh my gosh, that blob is that tree that I recognize."
But yeah, I mean, that's the best part about the VR thing is like, even though it's like that's just like a bonus kind of mode that you have to turn on, like that you can get down to street level and your human scale or whatever. It's still cool because like I went to the top of Mount Everest and I was like, this is like a very primitive triangle and it's not like overlapping very well, but I was like, okay, this is what this looks like.
I went to
and then I fly into space.
Yeah, and you can I went to the top of Half Dome at Yosemite, and yeah, it's the polygons around you aren't very great, but you can look down and get that valley view and know what mountain climbers are seeing if they make that climb and stand up there. Like I know I'll never do that in my life.
And to be fair, the Vive, all the headsets out, the resolutions aren't great. There's great, but for what they are now, it's a pretty impressive experience. And the best part is it's free. It's a free VR app if you already spent hundreds of dollars on these headsets. But that one's pretty cool. Just I like because there's different modes where you can go like I think it's like walking mode where it's kind of everything's horizontal, but then the regular mode is like kind of like a map and it's in front of you. And as you zoom in, your scale is actually getting bigger too. So it's not just that here's the Earth and you're flying towards it. It's like here's the Earth the size of a basketball, and when you zoom in, the Earth is getting bigger as you're zooming in. So then a house will be this big, but then a house eventually will get this big, and so that's kind of weird. They have it's like the scale is increasing as makes it easy to fly around really quickly. But I like if you can see the houses and they're like right next to your face, and you're like, it looks. Because it's just a view. It's a view you'd never have, and it's in VR. It kind of gives you like a sense of scale too. Like
it's crazy. Like looking at my neighborhood, but it's like I'm floating above the Earth, and I'm looking down at my neighborhood, but I look to both sides of me, and you can see the curve of the Earth. It's like you're
you're a giant in that. Essentially.
But it's just such a surreal experience, and it's really cool, and it makes me excited for where technology is heading in the future. Yeah.
So, ballet.
Yes. Good segue. I mean, we can just talk about our experiences.
Oh, let's see.
Like, how can we start the conversation?
How about I'll just have some questions to get it started.
Get it going.
So, how does one get into ballet? How did that means how did you guys get into ballet? There's my question.
I guess just like anything else, we started kids classes. I started when I was 4. I think Camille started when she was 3.
Starts a lot of times as an extracurricular thing that your parents and you decide that you want to do.
Yeah, just like gymnastics or whatever. Yeah. It's just
because my parents forced me to go to karate, and the minute I had a choice not to go to karate, I was like, I don't want to do karate.
It's the same thing at a young age, but there's a huge drop off at some point, like right before the teens, I think, is where you either have the people who are serious about it and want to continue, or the people who are like, okay, I want to do soccer now. Like, it
either becomes a passion or just something that you're doing.
It's just like piano lessons. Yeah. It's just like, anything else.
I started at age 5.
Okay, yeah, I was age 4. Originally, it was just my mom was looking for an extracurricular activity for me. I started at a recreation center in our neighborhood, just like a really dinky, not professional.
YMCA or something? Or?
It wasn't YMCA, but it was something like that, where I was taking classes there with other 3-year-olds or whatever. And I'm not too sure. I've only heard this story a few times from my mom, but apparently that teacher, at that age, it's kind of like preschool or daycare. They're teaching you the basics of, what ballet
how to be
is.
A child. No.
Yeah, how to posture and now let's do skipping across the floor. It's more like teaching you motor skills, I guess, or that kind of thing. Rhythm, it's teaching really little kids.
I always wondered that. I was like, are they doing
rhythm?
Are they doing Don Quixote as a toddler?
These days, a lot of classes will start offering at 3 years old which in my opinion is way too young to even
They're not,
know what's going on.
They're not learning ballet. They're learning how to skip across the floor, how to, do really basic things like tendu, like a pointed foot. Like now, everyone point your right foot. It's basically teaching kids like awareness of like, how to use their body and, that kind of stuff. But yeah, 3 years old, you're not really learning ballet.
I remember at 5 taking to it right away and really liking it. And that's at 5 years old. And, there are videos of me, I was really engaged in it. So I think you just have to have them, like, even at a young age, you can tell, like, there were other kids running around the room, didn't even know what they're doing.
Yeah, the story is my teacher, when I was like 3-4 years old at this recreation center, told my mom that I was one of the only kids in the class who was like, she could see the potential of like, I liked it and I took it seriously and I wasn't just running around the room, even though I
probably did that too.
I probably did that too, but there was something else there, and I think the teacher convinced my mom to check out some actual like professional classical ballet studios around the city. So we enrolled in classes at City Ballet of San Diego here in town, and the rest is history, I guess. I just stuck to it. That was my extracurricular activity. I was never interested in piano or soccer or karate. I just stuck to the ballet, and it kind of became a life for us. Like, our mom started working there for the ballet company, and just as the years went by, it became more and more of a family thing. Like, that was our second home.
Yeah, not to like go over every single part of the process, but basically it's like you move up levels depending on your ability / age, usually more about ability. And at a certain age, with enough practice, you get put on point. And
Toe
that's
shoes.
like your first, stage of going into that part of ballet.
Point for people who aren't know anything about ballet. That's
it's toe shoes.
The shoes that you can go like that on.
Point shoes, yes.
And you don't go on your toes in regular ballet slippers.
And this is it's dangerous for people who aren't strong enough, who don't know what they're doing. Very dangerous. So it's a strict process that your teachers are evaluating you.
Yeah.
And finally see that you're strong enough and you're ready.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Every school has a slightly different leveling system, but at our school it was Ballet 2, level 2 is where they started. Which
was kind of like level 3 or 4.
Yeah, but like at our,
just so you know.
Yeah, that's just.
It was like 10 years old about.
Yeah, it has more to do with your age and your skill level, but like at our school, it was level 2 where the teachers really started evaluating you and training you, strengthening you. You usually go through pre-point classes first, an entire hour or half hour of exercises.
Strengthening your ankles.
Specifically for strengthening your ankles and, being able to stand on your toes.
So you're on half point, which is basically like when you to people who don't know the terms, like if you're trying to get somewhere, reach something, half point. No?
When you stand on your toes to reach something?
Stand on your toes, but not on your toe tips.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it's like you're arching your foot up a little bit?
It'd be like, if you're standing up like on the balls of your feet.
Yeah.
That's, in ballet terms, that's called half point. Like, you standing on your toes.
Are just like hands if you look at them long enough?
Like this, if you're looking at the live stream.
I mean, essentially that's what feet look like.
And you do a lot of releve, half point exercises in pre-point class.
Locking your ankles.
Yeah, to strengthen your ankle muscles so that you can eventually get all the way up onto the tips of your toes.
So
I remember I went on point at 8, which is considered
that's really young.
Really young, but I remember my teachers talking to my parents about it.
They made sure you were ready.
They were very, clear that they thought I was definitely ready, and I never had any problems. So I think my teachers made the right call, and at a certain point, as you get older into your teens, almost all your time is spent wearing point shoes. In the company, you warm up, you take class just in regular flat shoes, and then everything you do is on point.
Yeah.
So.
And as far as like going back to how do you get into that life and everything, when you're really young, it is kind of like you move up by age, kind of like grade school. Like, pre-ballet is for 3-year-olds, and then once you're in kindergarten, you move up to pre-K at our school. They have different levels. Will depend on the studio, but anyway, when you're really young, you pretty much move up with your age group. But once you hit a certain point, usually in the 6 to 10-year-old range, you don't move up every year.
It's all about ability.
So yeah, if you have a kid who is interested in ballet and pursuing that, just please, as a parent, keep in mind that, you know, because it happens a lot. Pushy parents who really push for teachers to move their kids up past their level of technique, and it's discouraging. If you start moving your kid up too fast through the levels and they're not ready and their skill isn't to that level yet, it discourages them and they quit because they can't keep up with their class. So it's not like grade school. Once you like pass the level, the age 6 or 7, you can stay in a level for 2, even 3 years if that's just if that's just how fast you learn. Never push your kid too hard, or never push yourself too hard if you're interested in ballet. Take your time and you learn at the pace you learn. It's not like school where don't be discouraged if you don't move up a level every year.
If you're an adult or young adult wanting to get into it, find adult classes at local ballet studios.
Grossmont College here.
Yeah.
If you're in San Diego, there's I mean, lots of colleges will do ballet courses, even at least ballet 101 or whatever.
Our school is also a company, so you know that they have really experienced teachers. Helping you.
I guess we could plug City Ballet.
City Ballet of San Diego.
If you're in San Diego and you're interested in adult classes, there's a lot of studios around here, but like, not trying to be biased, but we are one of the best companies in San Diego, and we offer really good adult classes taught by professionals in our company, if you're interested.
Yeah, but if you're looking in other places and you're, serious about wanting, something like that every week or a couple times a week, specifically look for some that are also ballet companies, because they have really great teachers, and they know what they're doing.
There's plenty of very small schools out there who just teach ballet. They're not attached to a company that performs, and has seasons, who perform in theaters and stuff. But ours is. Our school is attached to a company that rehearses every day. But then
there's also the young ballet. There's also those schools that are, because I remember when we held our improv sessions back in college, we paid like $50 a month to rent this dance studio, and it was ballet, but all the kids, I don't know the ages, but it was probably 5 to, I don't know, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah. There's a lot of those types
What
of
are those
places.
called? I remember you saying something about them.
Dolly Dinkle.
Dolly Dinkle in the ballet community we'll call, I mean, it's definitely a negative term, but it's like if we'll be like, oh yeah, that's a real Dolly Dinkle school. There's so many places out there that
basically means not really professional.
Yeah, not
It's
professional.
it's a daycare.
Yeah.
There's
essentially, and then there's a show at the end. What does Dolly Dinkle mean?
I don't know. It's kind of just slang. Like, I can't really describe it. It's just
there isn't some lady Dolly Dinkle who.
I'm sure someone can Google it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something I grew up.
We don't have that
hearing.
information for you on the podcast.
I'm
and
sorry.
I certainly am not going to look. I can.
It's like there's a
Sorry.
whole ballet terms and stuff.
Oh
that
yeah,
just
I mean,
come about.
ballet mom is kind of a negative term in our culture too. I don't know if it is everywhere, but at least like where I grew up in my ballet circles,
you don't want to try to be living
ballet
through your
mom
child.
is a negative term you would use for like I was saying, a very pushy parent who, is pushing their kid a little too hard and is kind of trying to live through their child's success. But
it's a great thing to do when you're young. I mean, we were taking class and doing rehearsals almost every day of the week, multiple hours. I was probably in some of the, you don't realize it at the time, but I was in probably just amazing shape, like super healthy.
Oh, yeah. It's
an amazing form of exercise.
Yeah, we don't regret it at all. We're so glad we grew up with that experience because we were learning at such a young age.
It's like a not theater kid, but you're in the theater a lot too.
It is. We lived a lot of our lives in theater, not like musical theater, but it's definitely very similar. it's what was I gonna say?
We went to a specific private study high school to allow us to have our nights free, to not be spending it doing homework. We were lucky enough to have that type of experience where a lot of our energies were focused on this because we were serious about it.
Yeah, and also I was gonna say, like, I'm surprised. I was very surprised growing up at how not musical a lot of people are, who like don't grow up with dance or music training. They like, you know, even something as simple as clapping to a beat. Like, it's amazing how non-musical a lot of people are, and I feel like growing up listening to classical music every day gave me like an internal sense of rhythm. Like, you know, I know how to keep a beat or something. I don't know, but also it's important to remember that even though, yes, we don't regret our training and everything, we learned a lot, I still to this day get compliments from random strangers saying, "Are you a dancer?" because of my posture or whatever. Like, so much of that training doesn't leave your DNA after doing it for so long, but also ballet is very unnatural for the body.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of problems.
It's great for you and it's bad for you.
I heard
in the
people
long run.
liken it to being a racehorse.
Yeah.
Your ballet's all about turnout, and your body's not really supposed to do that for very, you know, long periods of time, and it's very unnatural, even though it looks beautiful.
And like, I don't want to like crap all over the art form that you just said, but like, and usually from my knowledge of that might be incorrect is if someone in ballet hurts themselves or injures themselves, they're usually done for. If they don't recover, they're.
It depends on the injury.
How serious it is.
I've known people who broke their foot and they still go back into a life of professional dance.
You have to be very serious about your recovery.
Yeah.
And physical therapy, but some are a deal breaker.
It really depends on the specific
hence
injury.
the racehorse mentality.
Yeah,
like,
it depends on the specific injury and the specific body. I mean, everyone's bodies are different. Some can handle an injury and recover from it a lot easier than others. So yeah, I think it's all like subjective.
And I guess the other side of that is, or the other aspect of that is that there's not anywhere really to go. Because there's no real way to make money as a ballet dancer.
That's the other thing.
You have to be very passionate about it. Most of your positions aren't going to be paid. I was in the company as a trainee and an apprentice for many years, but I mean, it doesn't even enter into your mind that you'd be paid for something like that. It's usually after many, many years of putting in all this work, you might get to a level where suddenly you're going to get a paycheck. Yeah. And it's different for guys because they're are usually less, and you might get a paid position way easier if you're a guy because they need you.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that it's your own reward doing something you love. Most people we know have lots of other jobs.
Yeah, most professional ballet dancers that we know hold, you know, nighttime jobs or whatever. They go work after they rehearse all day until 3 p.m. Then they go off to their other job. You have to like eat, breathe, and sleep dance. It has to be your passion. Obviously, we really enjoyed it, and we still do because we're still dancing. But you get to a point. For me, it was like around 17, 18, where you either know for sure that this is your life, this is your driving force and passion in life, and you want to be in that sweaty studio every single day for 6 hours, or you have to quit because it takes a lot of time and commitment. And I had other interests. I had photography and makeup and all this other stuff I was pursuing at the time, and I realized I couldn't commit all of my time to that studio, and I didn't want to.
And for you, was it Final Fantasy? No, I was kidding.
No, I mean, my experience was similar. It was something I loved doing. Like, I was never happier, like, in the studio, taking classes and excelling at something that you're good at and you like doing. But there comes a time when, like, every hour of my day was spent there, and you just have to decide if you want to keep doing that. And that's basically all I had time for, and it was hard to, get another job. And like I just said, you have to find other jobs at weird times. So I just took a step back, and I knew I didn't want to stop dancing forever, obviously.
Sure.
But being in a company, that was my job at the time, was to be there every day, and a little bit of soul searching was involved.
I mean, of course, there's big famous companies like New York City Ballet, and I could go on naming them, where those dancers can make a living off of dancing in the company, but the reality is that most companies our size,
Also,
we're really small, and we're in San Diego, which is they're not supportive of the arts. We're a military town. And it's hard. We're a small company, a small artistic company. We struggle like a lot of other ballet companies. Yes, most of our dancers, you do it because you love it.
I mean, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that for any like theater arts thing. I mean, musical theater, you go to either after you get out of like college
arts,
from
really.
all that, you're doing either community theater
and
or
level of talent is also involved. You have to have a natural talent for it. With ballet, unfortunately, body type is a big, deal breaker. A lot of companies only like a certain body type. I auditioned for, summer intensives.
Yeah.
And I was like, at the time, I was really, comfortable with my abilities, and the same as all of my friends. And, some of them got accepted and I didn't, because they liked really tall girls with really long legs.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's just, it sets you back a little bit. I know it hurt me at the time, but you have to realize that it's not really about
That's another thing. Just like acting, ballet is not something for really sensitive people, because you're going to get made fun of. You're going to get put down by teachers and people you're auditioning for.
It's tough.
And I'm not saying that's fair. Like, I'm not saying, that's how the world should be, but that's how it is. And like, there's no point in crying about it or something.
Well, it's because the people that they want, and like it's almost like there's no real chance. There's like, it's a small, unless you fit this mold, you might as well just do it because you love it.
We were lucky enough at City Ballet. They were very open with they're
a lot more lax than some of the bigger companies about body shape, and of course they're still gonna you gotta men have to lift you, like of course they're gonna tell you people to lose weight, and they still have like standards, but they're a lot more like open to different body types and heights. Like we have a lot of really short girls and a lot of really tall girls. There's something for everyone. But other companies, like, it's just the reality that if this is something you're going to pursue professionally, if you go audition for Pacific Northwest Ballet, unless you're like really tall and gangly and have really long legs, they're not going to take you. It doesn't matter how good you are, like that kind of stuff. And I mean, that's something that was known years ago. I don't know if that's still true for them, but yes, in the ballet community, certain companies get a reputation for wanting a certain type of dancer. And even if you're really good, like if you get turned down, you just can't take it personally.
Well, I mean, it's their prerogative. I mean, it's not. I mean, if it is what it is. You can. I mean, it's the same thing with casting a play or something.
Yeah.
Like it's up to whoever's doing it. Yeah.
It's tough.
But yeah, I mean, that seems kind of like the bill for any kind of theater arts stuff.
Like I'm a very sensitive person, and like I dwell a lot on what people think of me, and that's never going to change just because that's who I am. But I think being in the ballet lifestyle all my life really helped me deal with that.
Hardened you a bit?
It hardened me, because I definitely like got made fun of by teachers, and like I remember one of my I couldn't do something because I had a huge blister and it was super painful and I couldn't walk and I couldn't do something right, and I had a teacher like pretend to play violin for me in front of the whole class. And I'm not saying that's normal, that's not going to happen every day, but
make an interesting movie.
It's
a scene in a movie.
You'll be embarrassed by mean teachers. You'll be you just gotta, I don't know how to say it other than it hardens you. Not hardens you. I'm not like a bitter person, but it helps you take things less personally. Like, okay, it can hurt my feelings, and I was in my teens when that happened, and like that instance in particular like made me feel really bad, and I probably like went and cried afterwards. But growing up, you get less and less bothered by that stuff because there's no point in dwelling over things like that, injustices or whatever.
Well, also, if it's the first time it happens to you or the second time, it's like, how dare they, or why am I suck so much? But eventually it's like, you can only be told that so many times before it stops affecting you.
Yeah.
That's like you said, that doesn't happen every day. Our teachers became family to us. Yeah. At least for me, like I really enjoyed being
Overall,
there.
we have like a really great company. They became our second family. I still work with them.
But there was that one teacher who we got like fired or something because he was.
We had a teacher get fired because he was being like abusive towards us. Okay, that's the other thing that comes into play. You get really strict teachers from other countries. Like this guy was Russian, and he had these really young teenagers, this class of teenagers who like, dude, you're in a ballet studio in California. This isn't Russia, and these kids aren't training like Russian ballet dancers. You can't, torture them. I'm not saying torture, but it was. He like punished people for not being able to do something in class and like make them do certain stretches and like you have to stay in that position for this long. Blah blah blah.
I definitely still have a pop in my hip from this one teacher who was very strict, and if you messed up in one combination, he'd be like, "Okay, get back to the wall and sit there in the splits." For like an hour.
Yeah.
And that's not really.
That's not the norm, but it's just it's just an anecdote.
He only wanted to see.
Yeah.
Like, I think at the time we had a mixed class with the upper level and us, and he didn't even want to see us. Like he just wanted to.
Yeah, it was. Sometimes the classes combine at our school, and you get like the pre-professional ballet 6s with the ballet 5s, and there's a little bit of a difference in level.
Yeah, this was a very rare, weird situation.
We're just like sharing stories. We're not like, oh, all ballet teachers are evil, but that was definitely a special one. Like. They haven't let go too many people, but this was years ago, and it's, like you can't teach people in California like you do in some Russian schools, like, and every country has. What are the countries that ballet is big in? Obviously, Russia.
Japan.
Here, it's really ballet is a really big thing in Japan. We have a lot of Japanese dancers in our company. We get a lot of girls coming from Japan for our summer intensive workshops. It's really big there. Mexico, ballet is really big in Mexico, and in a lot of the Latin America countries.
In the United States, is it usually New York?
New York.
Yeah, New York. LA, surprisingly, doesn't have a really big dance scene. The Pacific Northwest has a big company. But yeah, mostly New York, I'd say. They have two big ones. ABT, I think, are they in New York? American Ballet Theater? I'm a really bad ballet dancer, I don't know. But ABT and New York City Ballet are two big ones. I don't know. Now I'm just kind of like rambling.
Maybe we can take like some questions or something.
Yeah. Oh, one last point I was going to mention is that unlike acting, where you can do that, into your 70s, 80s if you're good, ballet is a very short career. Most ballet dancers on average retire in their 30s. And you can fall into a scary trap if you're a professional dancer if you don't have any other skills or you don't branch out because suddenly your body starts giving out on you. You're not in your prime anymore. You retire in your 30s. You still have your whole life ahead of you, and you suddenly realize you don't have any skill sets.
I mean, that's actually a good.
You could still teach.
Good lesson for anyone.
Yeah.
Not just in dance.
Exactly.
I know I hold that well. Like I'm not too worried if Steam Powered Giraffe goes under. Like. Because I have so many things now.
And
it's a good to be a jack of all trades. Not all trades, but you know what I mean. Like if you're one trick pony or whatever, then and you can't do that one thing. I mean that's what it is, isn't that kind of like that also plays into like people with if you lose your job to robots in the future, you're gonna what are you gonna do? You gotta go and back to school or something and and I guess that's what it is, Either you gotta be ready to learn a new trade or get into a creative field because that's where a lot of jobs are moving into creatives now because eventually hard labor is always going to be needed somewhere but in the future a few decades from now humans are going to be there for design. We're going to be there to do things that machines maybe they'll be built in the far future but it'll be for design. Like I think that's what people are headed towards. So it doesn't have to necessarily be creative as in I'm gonna make some art, but if you got to design this system for a machine or something, like that's what humans are for. Where machines we use as tools to lift and to. I'm sure there'll be blue collar jobs all the time, but they're going the wayside in the last 100 years.
Not as
I don't know how we
many.
got on that,
But yeah, no.
but your thing is good at that.
I've seen professional dancers who, when they retire, they go back to school, and that's a really smart thing to do. You know,
Oh, yeah.
do that. Go back to school, because I also know people who didn't really do anything after they retire.
So before we get on these questions, if you have questions, hold them in the Engineer-eteers chat.
Or Twitter. I didn't post anything on Twitter.
Well, I thought about this, and I'm like, well, since we have the chat on now, it really doesn't matter if people post on Twitter, because it's always posthumorously after the. And if you're watching the stream now as we're doing it, you're probably in the Engineer-eteers.
My idea was that people who aren't watching the live stream still get a chance to ask a question
Oh, sure.
and then
It's
hear
like
it
the same
later.
people every
That's
week.
good.
But it doesn't. happen.
So if you want the question answered later, perhaps by Chelsea or something on Twitter, we'll post all that on Twitter. We're at the Bennettarium on Twitter, so you can always shoot us a message there. You can shoot us a message on our personal Twitters, as well as Steam Powered Giraffe's Twitter as well. You can find all that on the websites.
I usually read the questions, but if you want to, if there's any
I just
for
wanted
us.
to ask, or just let everyone know, I suppose, that when Steam Powered Giraffe hired you came a little later, but when we hired Chelsea, it wasn't because she was in ballet. In fact, I didn't even know that. It was I was offering a merchandise
position.
And I naturally went to my friends first, and Chelsea, because we got along. And that's how you got started with the Steam Powered Giraffe.
I think you knew that I did ballet because I want to say you also offered me the position because you knew I had some stage experience.
Oh, right, because the position we offered you was merchandise. Like, but you could do either one. Like, I was like, you can do the merchandise, for my apartment to do the shipping stuff for fans, but we also do shows.
Yeah, and you were like, are you comfortable with that? Like, do you want to perform? And I was like, hell yeah.
So it was kind of like, because we need someone to perform as well.
Yeah.
And it's nice that, if we could have separate people doing that, but it is nice to have the people that are already doing something in your group do something, because then that's just more money for them.
And it's not like a Walter worker needs stage experience to go into it. You can learn how to do that. It's it's pretty much, it started as small parts. Obviously I didn't start out doing the ballet. It was, when I started, it was just the little skits on stage every once in a while, but it definitely, like, I don't know, it must help, or at least it felt good for me to be able to utilize that skill and get back on stage after my last ballet performance was in like 2006, I think. And even if it was just something small, like doing skits on stage with the robots, I felt like this is familiar. It felt like being home, being on stage is comfortable for me.
We do ballet in the show now, or a form of ballet or something, but that came like almost a year after you joined, or it was only when Camille joined up.
Yeah, because when I started, I was Walter worker alongside Carolina.
Carolina Gambayan, yeah. And she didn't have any stage experience. She knew how to play bass, so we threw her on bass for one of the songs back when she was touring with us. But when you came on, you were still with Carolina. And
right. And I remember my very first show in Calico, the ghost town in in California. Backstage right before the show, Bunny came up to me and was like, hey, so are you nervous, excited? And I was like, oh, I'm really excited. I haven't been on stage in years, but I danced my whole life. And she was like, oh, wow. She didn't know that. And I was like, yeah, it was really great for me to get back into that.
Yeah, mine had only been a couple years. I think my last show was Swan Lake, I think in 2011. It was the same year that
2011.
It was the same year that Black Swan came out, because
you were rolling your eyes.
People kept asking me if I wanted to go see Black Swan, and I was like, I just got out of a full day of Swan Lake rehearsals. I don't want to go see Black Swan.
We had a great turnout for that show, though. Our ballet company made really good sales on our Swan Lake excerpt show.
Because of the movie?
Yeah, because of the movie. Like Natalie Portman had just won the Oscar, and I won't get into that because boo. You don't want to
ask ballet dancers about that.
But anyway, the movie had just come out. There was so much Oscar buzz about it. And we planned our season 2 years in advance, so it was just coincidence. But we did great on sales. But we also had to deal with a lot of stupid questions. People calling in, asking is this based on the movie? No,
not
unless the movie is 150 years old. But okay, whatever.
Are there scenes from the movie in this show.
Oh, you don't
like,
even want to
oh
know.
my God.
Is this a movie?
The Spreckles box office.
They're only doing a little
people
dancing.
Thought there was talking.
no. Oh yeah,
There's no talking in ballet.
People,
Oh, wow.
yeah, but like you know, if anyone's seen Black Swan,
That's
I'll just tell you, I hope to God this was like a troll and they weren't serious, but the Spreckles box office got a call from someone looking for tickets to our show and asked if there was going to be a lesbian sex scene in our show because of the movie, and we're like, oh my God. I'm so glad that, you know, that movie doesn't.
But anyway, talking about how many years are you guys apart?
3.
3.
3 years. So that's why one reason why you guys have different. You were in different when you.
Yeah.
The ballet upbringing. You were kind of separate.
Yeah.
We were in the same level for a while.
At a certain point when we got to like the top level,
I progressed a
pre-professional.
little quick.
Yeah, and going back to
so-
what you were saying about, you know, you have to have a natural talent for it, that's absolutely true. But, you know, depending on, me and Camille have different body types, and just because of that, it meant that I definitely, like, had a different training experience than Camille. She was naturally better at some things than I was, that I had to work harder for. I might have been better at some things than she was. It's a lot of individual drive
just natural
and
stuff.
you know, you definitely like Camille's body is already like a lot more of like what the traditional ballet body is, and it means me and other people I knew with a body type similar to mine maybe had to work a little harder to get to where they were, and there's nothing wrong with that, but and it's really cool to see, you know, people with maybe certain natural setbacks to the ballet lifestyle, like overcome that with hard work, which is
That's also a good note for just anything.
Ballet.
This is all like applicable to anything in life.
I mean, we had talent, but I mean, I do not have my flexibility isn't that great. My extension isn't that great. Meaning, like, if I were to do,
you had to stretch more than other people.
My arabesques in the back with your leg up. Some people can just go woof, and it's way up there.
Get their leg almost to
and
their
they don't
head.
even have to stretch that much. I had to work really hard to even get, you know, a slightly good extension, and I did. I worked really hard for it, but some people just have that automatically. So.
I know, sorry we got on a tangent.
No, I get it. I mean,
you have to work at things, and you'll get there.
Hard work is the key for anything in life.
yeah, I don't think anything came naturally to me in any art form. Like, I feel my whole life feels like an uphill.
Yeah.
Well, most people's lives feel like an uphill battle, but nothing's like it's easy. Like the only things that are easy now are things that you've been doing your whole life, right?
Well, ballet is like there's lots of different things like turning and stuff.
Yeah.
I was really good at turns. I was really good at a lot of things, but that one thing I struggled at.
And also, yes, natural talent exists for certain like things like ballet. You can definitely be more like. You can be more flexible than someone else, just naturally. You can be skinnier than someone else naturally.
And all that gives you an edge, right?
But also it's like, even if you have the natural talent for ballet or anything, without discipline, it doesn't mean anything.
Right,
We knew people who were very naturally, like, had this, you know, beautiful body, and they looked amazing doing ballet. They had amazing extension without stretching much, that kind of stuff. But they didn't, but ballet wasn't their life. They didn't want to pursue it professionally, and maybe they slacked off a little, and, you know, they're, I don't know, like, just discipline.
Perseverance,
Perseverance and discipline will get you a long way. Even if you have natural talent, like, don't rely on that. You still have to work just as hard. I don't know.
So when you guys came in the group, you came in a little later when Carolina eventually, she went back to school, but, and we were like, okay, we need another Walter worker.
Yeah.
And then naturally we're like, well,
what about your sister?
We were already thinking about that immediately, I think.
Yeah.
It just made sense. And you were in the group for, was it only about 4 months before we threw in a ballet thing?
Yep.
Yeah, I joined in September, and we debuted Turn Back the Clock in February.
And I remember you guys working on that one sometime.
Yeah, it actually, like,
the
seeds of that idea came very early, before Camille was in the group. One of my first shows was Midwest Media Expo in Detroit back in 2014, April 2014, and me and Bunny were kind of throwing around the idea of, like, oh, you're a ballet dancer. Someday we should, you know, figure out a way to get ballet on stage. But at that point, it was just me. Carolina obviously wasn't a dancer. So, and I remember even way back then listening to Turn Back the Clock and kind of like coming up with ideas in my head. but that idea kind of lay dormant for a while because it would have
Sure.
just been me working on that. And it seemed a little daunting, and we didn't know how to fit it in. And then
But then when you finally got the one out, I mean, Turn Back Clock's a pretty long song, so that one was, that's a pretty long piece on stage.
Yeah, and we didn't have as much time to work on it as Hold Me even. So we got that done quick. So what you saw on stage, that was a lot of really fast work, but
that was a crash course and a really like invaluable experience for us.
But also got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, and we danced our whole lives, but we weren't choreographers. You know, we danced for a company, and there was a choreographer who told us what to do and what to dance.
And there's also
we were new to staging something.
Yeah, and our first rehearsals were kind of tough because there were things we wanted to do. We had ideas that would have been really neat. But because of the limitations of our stages and the size of stages,
because every venue is different.
Some things just weren't going to happen. We had something really complicated at one time, and we just had to take a step back and be like, we can't do this.
This would look amazing.
So it was actually a little bit harder than it probably could have been.
Yeah.
Because we had to factor in all these different things.
It's kind of fun, like in a weird way, because it's frustrating, but it's also kind of fun, like
challenging.
It's problem solving.
But I think it paid off, and we were really happy with the results.
So Turn Back the Clock.
No, I think it looks good. There's probably video on YouTube somewhere of it, probably in segments. We've always been meaning to make a Steam Powered Giraffe, like a music video of it, to kind of showcase the ballet, but it just hasn't come about yet, unfortunately.
Turn Back the Clock. Our first few rehearsals were a lot of talking and discussing the song. I listened to that song so many times. A lot of our movements are based off of like ideas or concepts brought forward in the song. Lyrics, obviously. It's kind of like, we leave it vague and up to interpretation. But I think the general idea we had when laying down the song was that we were like, what is it, like music box dancers come to life?
Sure.
To help tell the story of the song.
We were trying to like make a separation of like me and you being younger and older versions of the same
that was
person
fun.
There's a lot of imagery going on in
the
that.
story and the song.
One of my favorite parts of choreographing this and Hold Me is figuring out how to connect what you're dancing, the choreography, to what you want to represent. And in Turn Back the Clock, for most of the song, we dance together, but there's two sections of the song where I stand in the back and Camille has a solo, and then I have a solo. And Camille's solo is during the part talking about the young girl. She represents the girl as a little girl, and then like later I have a solo where I'm kind of like representing her when she's older.
Some of my movements are a little bit more
girlish and innocent,
and Chelsea's are more elegant, so
like more of like an older
grace.
grace.
I mean, it's hard to describe, but if you know,
and like none of this
sense.
is important to enjoy watching us dance it, but it's fun because it's like you get that extra, just like actors, I
mean, I didn't get to see it until it was filmed.
Some actors say that they know a secret about their character that they would never share with anyone else, and it just informs their performance. It doesn't mean anything to anyone else. And we have like there's a lot going through my head when I'm dancing that doesn't matter to anyone else, but it helps me convey whatever I'm conveying. And Turn Back the Clock was really fun.
We did that for a year on stage wherever we went, and then we wanted, with a new album, we had another song, and we were like, this one's probably ripe to do a ballet piece for. So Hold Me is a lot shorter song, and from what I remember is you guys did it a more contemporary piece for that.
We were trying to stay away from more classical movements.
Turn Back the Clock, we kept a lot of like classical technique in it, and
which is
looking
great for
pretty and clean, like
box.
Music box dancers. Hold Me
is what they do in
not messier, but maybe emotionally messier because it's a lot more personal.
It's kind of more moving through the music. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
I mean, I definitely listened to that song a lot and got my own ideas of like the emotion behind it and trying to. That one too. I took the story into account. The end of Hold Me is us, like on our knees, kind of. It's kind of like a bittersweet ending because we kind of just slide down onto the floor and we're down on our knees near the end of the song, like on the last few piano notes, and we do a little bit with our hands where it's basically like we're blowing a kiss to the sky, and that's that's supposed to be Holly saying goodbye to
right, because
Peter Walter.
Hold Me's from our space opera album.
If you've ever seen Hold Me Live, that's like directly from the story of the album.
We do have, that one was filmed.
Yeah.
Unlike the other one.
Oh, yeah.
And it's on the YouTube concert that I'm editing.
Mm-hmm.
The camera work isn't great on there, but it will be time capsule to watch.
Hopefully it looks good.
Yeah.
And it's really bright.
Well, I'll show you guys. I'll show you guys first.
Even that one.
The lights were really bright.
It has less. I don't know which one. It has less of a narrative than Turn Back the Clock, because that one we're kind of dancing through. We're this young girl who's it's music box dancer telling the story, and then Hold Me is, I even had this really weird abstract idea once. Again, it doesn't matter, but it helped us figure out how to convey the movements and stuff. I had this weird idea once that we're the personifications of sorrow and hope in Hold Me, and we're dancing together intertwined. But yeah, stuff like that.
Things that help come up with choreography sometimes.
It helps us like get inspired.
Well, it'll be nice to see what the audience sees, because we've seen it on, people have given us video of it, and it's like, oh, it's nice to see how it looks. And of course, you taped it when you first put it together.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, someday maybe we'll
put it on the Engineer-eteers site. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Because we have Camille and I would for about a month before the premiere of a dance, we would go in once a week to our ballet studio and work for an hour or two on the dance. And near the end, when it was like finished and kind of polished, we would film it to show the rest of the band, because they wouldn't come to our rehearsals, obviously.
We would have because we do a little bit of interacting, but it's just so we have a general idea.
And Turn Back the Clock one is pretty different.
We changed the ending of Turn Back the Clock. Like the final pose of Turn Back the Clock on stage is like so obvious. Like where we're Bunny's in the middle, and then me and Camille are on either side of her, like holding her hand, and we strike a last pose. And for some reason,
she wasn't there, so we didn't have her to.
We had that final pose near the end of the song, but not at the very end. And like after showing the band the video, we were kind of like, why isn't that the final pose? Like, why isn't that the final shot? Of course, that makes more sense.
And of course, the song live is a little different than on the album, because it's not it doesn't trail on with a do-do-do. So there's a hard stop, so I was able to, and I think you probably started with the wrong
At a
version.
certain point, we were choreographing to the version from the album that's like, that has that really long bit at the end with no singing.
Well, yeah, because it's like the continuity in the album is supposed to go
we were
song
like,
to
oh my
song,
god, we were like trying to figure out what to do for all of that music. But
then I was like, oh no, here's the version we're going to play live. And
it helped us a lot. But
anyways, hopefully we should definitely. I know we've had it in at least for 2 years now in our heads that we want to film this.
Yeah.
So we will, and we almost filmed it at the day of the YouTube concert filming. But we were like, nah, let's just keep it simple.
Turn Back the Clock will come back.
Because that'll be easy. It'll be easy to do. We should definitely make a music video of it.
Yeah, and Turn Back the Clock too. I don't know why it's just the nature of the two dances, or maybe it's because we were a little more inexperienced with choreography when we did Turn Back the Clock. But that one evolved a lot on stage. Little things, very little things got tweaked at the sound check of each show until it became, a lot of it subtly became different than what we had originally brought to the stage in Everett. Over the year, it changed a lot.
Much like theater in general.
Yeah, but so far Hold Me hasn't changed a lot. I think we really nailed that one.
That one's nice, and it's great because it's like a 2-minute somebody's song, and that's like the perfect amount of time. Turn Back Clock goes on a little too long.
Turn Back the Clock is like pretty brutal on stage,
but they're both good.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy.
I don't know if we'll have another. Usually, so far, it's been a new dance piece every time. But I think based on some of the stuff we're working on for next year, I think we'll probably keep Hold Me, just because it's such a
It's
because
really,
without spoiling too much, you guys are gonna have a bigger part in the show next year.
Yeah.
So.
Turn Back the Clock with all that would be like. I like performing Turn Back the Clock, but Hold Me is a kind of perfect time.
Well, the best part is we can always bring it back later when we're like, we need to fill this much time, and here's a great piece.
Yeah.
I don't know if we could potentially do both in the same show, but I don't know. Our shows are only an hour and a half.
We could, but we would have to factor in quick changes.
We just talked a good 20 minutes without ever getting the questions, but let's take some questions. Sorry if you posted some. The first question is the lunch machine question.
Of course, Camille hasn't had that yet.
Someone asked us about if you could have lunch with anyone from history,
alive or dead,
who would you have lunch with? And what would you have for lunch? That was that part of the
No,
question?
that wasn't part of the question.
But anyways,
Okay.
the question.
This
then
was-
Bunny and I are turned on head
This
like.
was-
Shouldn't this like
What is
take
this lunch
more
machine?
time to think about?
No.
No. Okay.
So you haven't been asked it, but
So,
everyone else has been asked it already.
Someone asked this on Twitter the week we were like super tired after Youmacon.
And we just went on a rant
I don't
about
know
what is this
how-
lunch machine?
I don't know
like,
how
what
you
is
and
it?
Bunny,
Is it like
like-
a box you get into
They
and
What
Some-
does
get
that
lunch?
mean?
I have no idea.
How do you? Because it was.
They were tired and they somehow interpreted the question as, "What would you want from a lunch machine?" I don't know.
Now it's a lunch machine question.
But we asked Aaliyah last week. It's become a running joke that.
Alive or dead? Who do you
who
want to
would
eat
you-
lunch with?
Who would you want lunch with?
So
who would
you know,
wanna
because
get
at a lunch
with?
you're usually eating, but then you're also talking for a second. So that it's like a very concise conversation with someone from history.
And our answers were very different because it's anyone, alive or dead. I was like, I would love to chat with the guys from Red Letter Media on YouTube, and Bunny was like, why wouldn't you choose Abraham Lincoln? Like, it could be anyone.
That's like a way deeper, like,
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I don't even know what I'd say.
Anyway.
But like just off the top of your head, like casual, just like in
Yeah.
the moment, I used to always say, back when Lost was airing, I just wanted to talk about Lost with the creators
Yeah.
of Lost.
Yeah.
Because I was so passionate about that show.
Damon
and I just, like,
and
wanted to know
Carlton.
their process and just like ask things because
They had a podcast. Damon
Yeah.
Lindelof and Carlton Cuse were the showrunners of Lost, our favorite show.
as creative minds, they were just like constantly thinking of such interesting things.
Yeah,
and-
they discussed it. They discussed their process a lot on their official podcast, and there are two that I would really love to sit down with.
But like I guess like thinking about talking to people during lunch
Mm-hmm.
just makes me think of like my favorite authors and stuff. So probably I don't know, Stephen King.
Stephen King, yeah, that might be cliche, but it's true. I would love to have lunch with Stephen King.
Yeah, he's a cool guy too.
I can't say I've read too many of his books, but I've read a few. I'm a big fan of his non-horror, like the Dark Tower series is my favorite book series.
Just I have a lot of fantasy authors like.
But see, those are like okay. So maybe there should be two parts.
Yeah, a
Someone who's
historical
alive,
figure.
someone who's not alive.
Yeah.
Because one is very possible, right? And one is not possible.
I was actually just going to say one of my favorite authors
okay.
is passed away. So
Yeah.
Robert
But
Jordan.
not Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, I don't know
Robert
why.
Jordan, the author of the Wheel of Time series.
Yeah.
He died a couple years
So
ago.
you want to know how he would have finished it?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he
And that would be
Apparently
also had
interesting.
plans to write prequel books and stuff that are never going to see the light of day now. And even though his series got finished, I don't know, I'd be interested in...
Because that's the problem with books. They take forever to write, and people are usually old by the
Yeah.
time
It's
they're
kind of
done.
like what people are scared of happening with George R. R. Martin actually happened to Wheel of Time.
I know.
And it was very sad. So I know that a lot of his original vision got finished because he left lots of notes because he unfortunately knew what was coming. But you can't write everything. So.
Yeah. One person who is dead that I would love to sit down with and talk to for a while is Christopher Lee. I share a birthday with him. I was obviously very devastated when he passed away, but I always just I watched so many of his videos,
Very
especially
interesting guy.
especially on the behind the scenes featurettes of Lord of the Rings, because he was the only cast member of the Lord of the Rings trilogy that had met Tolkien personally. He had Tolkien's blessing to play Gandalf if they ever made a movie for Lord of the Rings. He just seems like such an interesting, rich, just so much there, so many stories he could probably tell. He fought in World War II, and he's a huge Tolkien nerd too. He said he read it once a year. The Tolkien,
He knew
the
everything.
Lord of the Rings series, and I don't know, I just love watching his videos on the behind the scenes stuff of the
He
Lord of the
also
Rings
has
movies.
like a...
Him he's talking in Elvish and stuff, and this when the elves did this, and he's just talking about Middle Earth history like it really happened, and he's just amazing. I want to meet him.
Did like a metal album?
Yeah, he came out with a metal album. Sorry.
More questions. I saw one. How do you get your hair under your wig, Chelsea? Because you wear a wig on stage.
See how this is you
Sorry.
you put it in a wig cap.
Yeah. We get this question all the time.
It's not like, believe it or not, there's no bone or anything inside the hair. It's not like.
Mine's just as
There you
fluffy.
go.
Mine's just as fluffy
It's
as
just
hers, and I've got
hair.
it like this. You know?
I mean, it's a legitimate question. You get it a lot.
I mean, volume doesn't equal mass. I mean, this stuff can squish down pretty flat.
Yeah.
You wet it because I've bobby pinned my hair dry before and put it under a wig, and it poofs up and it makes my wig look really big. You want to get it wet so it's nice and slick and flat for the day, and then I don't know, you just pin it to the top of your head, put a wig cap on, and it's pretty much just like any other hair.
Do you see any questions you want to answer?
I don't have it open.
I'm like pulling a few, but
I don't have access.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything with ballet before I get to the generic questions for everything else.
Any questions about ballet? Anyone?
I did not see any. Nope. So now it's anything you can find.
Well, I see any live show rituals you do to calm nerves or for good luck. Can't say I have any. I mean, that would apply to you too, I guess, but I don't know.
I can't think of any that I used to do when I was performing regularly.
I'm sure
it became second nature.
Plenty of people do have rituals, but I don't have any.
The only thing that the robots do is just a fist bump.
Yeah.
And Bunny and I will usually hug before a show, just because it's just a thing, a sibling thing for us to. I don't know. It's one of those reassuring things, like you're not alone on stage. That's all we need on stage. Is
There's
like
a ballet ritual that you say.
That's like a theater. I thought it was just ballet, but it's a theater
Yeah, I guess
thing
it's a theater
in
thing.
general. Married.
Saying married.
Oh yeah.
If
Just say
anyone
that to
has
everyone.
ever
Can't
never
say
heard
it here,
that,
but
married.
what it means.
Yeah, you can.
No, I mean.
Oh, you can
What?
because it's PG-13. We can say
in
shit.
English. Oh. Okay.
Married is French for shit, and it's this really weird ritual thing that became popular in theater and ballet. Instead of good luck or break a leg, you tell each other married before a show. I guess there's a lot of like different stories about how that came into play, but it's basically like it's a good luck thing because it means I hope you step in horse shit on your way out of the theater because it means lots of people came to see your show back in the horse and carriage days.
That sounds real.
Yeah,
to me.
no,
That sounds right.
it's this really
were appropriate.
it's this really
it's good.
weird thing
Good.
that people say.
If I don't have to edit any swear words out, it's a good evening for me.
Isn't that bizarre though? But yeah, it means like I hope you step in it on your way out of the theater tonight because it means lots of people came to see your show.
I mean, I'm sure it was humorous back then.
Yeah.
If that is true, it's not like it's like, oh, that's weird. It was probably weird back then, but it was probably one of those like, ha ha ha, yes.
Yeah.
Like how anything becomes a ritual. But yeah, I think that's the only ritual I see. Do you see anything else?
No.
I saw some questions that were coming by, but they go so fast.
Yeah.
We still got a few more minutes. Is there anything you guys want to answer that talk about that you? I'm sure we can talk about ballet another time too.
Sure. I mean.
Oh, what's a glissande mean?
What?
A what?
In ballet, what's a glissande mean?
Glissade?
Glissade?
Yes.
It's like,
I don't know what I'm.
It's like.
I put an N in there for no
I'm trying to
reason.
do it with my hands.
What's a glissade?
I'm really bad with like.
Is it someone said heard
It's
it was
like when you
kind of like
say
pushing off an invisible skateboard?
Tombe,
Yeah.
pas de bourrée, glissade. It's like
I should
it's like
know.
what you do right before a big jump. You can do it by itself, but it's a lot of times used right before something big.
It's a transitional move, and I'm being
Like
a
a
really bad
crossfade.
ballet
It's like one
studio.
foot
Ballet
out,
student here, and
jump up and then go back down.
I should know what it means in English. Like it's a French term, right? But yeah, it's a transitional move that helps you get into like a jump or another move.
We can't really do it.
We look
Yeah.
we're trained our whole lives, but like it's one of those things where it's like some things are hard for us to describe because they're just second nature to us, and I don't really like how I taught myself photography, where it's like
Your goal is to be
I
in
don't
the air.
know all the technical things about it.
Yeah.
I just do it.
Your goal is to be in the air with both feet pointed, like floating in the middle.
Yeah.
It's transitional.
Someone asked, will there be a Yulmus concert shared with the Engineer-eteers? Our concerts live as live show concerts. We don't really film any of that stuff. But if you want to see what we play, if you look on the Engineer-eteers site, just type in Yulmus. You'll find content. I believe there's a song that we always play there. But it's roughly the same show, but our show's improv. So basically, our improv stuff in the show that we've done earlier this year is now just geared more towards this Yulmus Eve. So we only have one additional song we sing, which is the Yulmus one.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll be playing actually more songs than we did the last show that we did. But at any rate, you're not missing out on anything. But we definitely don't like film or live stream shows that people are doing at theaters, especially when people, yeah.
Favorite South Park character? That's random.
I mean, probably Randy Marsh. He's probably a good one.
Who's that?
That's Stan's dad.
Oh, okay. I
don't watch South Park.
I've seen very little South Park. I watched last season, and I'm watching the current season, and I've seen a few episodes sprinkled here and there throughout the years, but I don't really have
I've watched it since it premiered, and it is definitely like some of the humor is like not for me, but I always go back to it. It's very on point with pop culture as well.
I can't say I know anything about South Park, but one character that always makes me laugh, probably because of the voice or whatever, is the one teacher, the counselor, the guy with the big head. Okay, yeah. He talks like that. I don't know their names or anything, but he always makes me laugh.
Yes.
Mr. Mackey.
It is funny. Yes.
I like him.
It's a funny show. There's especially with South Park, the last few seasons they've started something new. Instead of writing, every episode is usually separate.
One shot.
But now the whole season there's a continuity between each season, which is weird, but it's actually refreshes the show.
Yeah.
And it's like every now this season everyone's talking about member berries. But I like that. I like that. It's as long as it's been on the air, it's still finding its audience.
Someone earlier
it's still just as popular
in the chat kept quoting the member berries, and I was trying not to laugh every time I looked down. Ooh, remember this?
But anyway, South Park's not for everyone, but I think there is something for everyone in South Park if they just watch enough episodes.
I always the few episodes I saw way back whenever throughout the years, it's not really my thing typically. I thought it was pretty vulgar and gross, but I've really enjoyed the last few seasons. Ever since they started the continuing story, the continuity through the seasons. I like most of it now.
Will Steam Powered Giraffe ever play a secret show at Balboa Park for the good old days? We would do. We've talked about that for years. Steam Powered Giraffe got its start doing street performing in Balboa Park in particular, and there's always been talk of going back, but we haven't been back since right before the first year we did Zoo and the San Diego Zoo in 2011. That was the last time we actually went out and did a show, and after that we just geared it towards doing concerts because we can't make money doing street performing.
Yeah.
Well, nothing substantial anyways. But yeah, and it's always like, oh, that's fun. It's fun to go out there and But to be fair, our act relies a lot on instruments that are plugged in now that we don't. We could play a few songs, but also, I don't know. I don't think we would feel comfortable doing Balboa Park anymore.
Yeah, and I've seen people say that too, oh, it'd be so cool if they did a special surprise busking just for one day and didn't tell anyone. It was a secret performance.
I mean, that's exactly what we would do if we were going to do it. We wouldn't want to drown out a public place with people.
If you did that again, it would only be work for half the band at this point because it's not like me and Camille would be part of a busking act.
There's not much we could.
The act has just changed so much.
Plus, Sam never wanted to do it. Since the beginning, it's just been one of those things that we knew that Sam's not going to do this because he's only done the show there. Bunny and I could easily do busking, but
I've even seen
Sam's I'm not going to try to belt out in front of that. It's a completely different show.
I've even seen rumors in the past that we were going to busk at a convention, and it's that would only be half the band if we were going to do that. So
yeah, I mean, I could do it, but I'm not going to do it by myself because it's pointless. And harmonies are kind of what sells it anyways. But yeah, I know Sam never wants to do that kind of stuff. Has never wanted to do it as well. And Bunny isn't I know we talked about it a few times over the years, and Bunny definitely didn't feel comfortable going out in public now that the act has a transgender person. I mean, that's kind of was a little awkward for Bunny to begin with thinking about Balboa Park performances. What would we get out there? Because before, we'd look weird, but we still kind of fit in with society's whatever it is. And of course, maybe Bunny can handle it. But at the same time, that would only be two of us who would be game for it, even if Bunny was on board.
Yeah.
And Sam's definitely not up for it. And I would do it, but at the same time, looking at my week and schedule, I'm busy till I'm dead. I'm never going to find time.
Probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it just wouldn't help us. It would be personally gratifying, and I'm sure people would love to show up and get a one-on-one with us. But you have to realize we stopped doing Balboa Park because we got popular, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure we could do it. We would basically be starting over if we did it, and we would just be growing another audience potentially. And everyone, I mean, to be fair, all the other buskers hated us when we were out there because we just drew a big crowd. That's not like saying that we were like amazing or anything. There's tons of other. It's just we found a niche and people really responded to robots and stuff, and that's how we knew we had something. But yeah, it would be fun, and if we did in secret, I'm sure we could get away with it. But there is no just showing up, and you have to get a permit for Balboa Park. And
a lot of bands
we
do
would
that.
have to go
do little secret shows.
I mean, we could probably just show up and like no one's gonna. Someone
But
could
not,
ask us to
not
leave.
like
but
we could do our regular act as a secret
No, I mean
show.
we'd have to like play like Honeybee, and we have to go to Clockwork. And,
Yeah.
I mean, we never had a bass. We don't use amplification when we did that. It was just an acoustic guitar and a mandolin, and Bunny had the melodica, and we haven't done that in years. We could do it. We've done acoustic shows at conventions, but yeah, it's not going to happen. It does sound fun though, but why does it sound fun? It sounds fun to me for a very different reason than probably someone wanting to go see us who sees our act now. Probably because they want to see us in a very more personal setting, right?
Yeah.
Where you're up close and not like 20 feet away from the stage. But nope, that's not the act anymore. Anyways, that's a.
I know it's 5:04,
It's 5:04.
but
Yeah, if
we
there's.
don't have to cut off at 5.
There's other questions, but these are just Steam Powered Giraffe stuff. How's the new album coming along? It's coming along. It'll be out whenever it's done. But we obviously just came out with an album in September, so
yeah.
you'll have to give us a few months to put out another one.
We have. There will be another music video by the end of the year, right?
No promises, but yeah, we should
Yeah.
have some music videos by the end of the year. I think that's all the questions I'm seeing. If there are some that we missed and you wanted us to answer, then definitely didn't see them.
Well, I think this was a good 2 hours.
Yeah, we talked. And
I got
pretty much an hour ballet, an hour of
very
Final
caffeinated.
Fantasy. I don't know what our next one's going to be. I
Yeah,
know Bunny's
not
going to
sure
be back. But I feel like
Will it be Sunday or Monday? I don't. Sorry.
let's figure this out.
It's the holiday weekend.
Oh yeah, it'll be. It'll either be.
I'm imagining
Sunday
it might just be Monday, just because we have.
Cyber Monday.
It's going to be a big
Yeah.
day, but I'll figure out who's going to be there. You're a great default, but if Bunny's going to be on, maybe Bunny has someone who wants. I know.
Sure.
It's always up in the air, and we could definitely try with more than 4 people, but I feel like 3 or 4 is probably a good.
I think 4 is a good number, like maximum, but I think it'd be fun to try like a big party of people at some point.
We'll just be talking over each other all the
Yeah.
time. Okay, I think that's good for the podcast. I guess we can.
Yeah, I know we didn't
See
do
if we can
any
play this out.
Twitter questions this week, but
no, I took a few from Twitter.
Oh, okay. Good.
But-
Never mind.
But yeah, if you do have questions on the Twitter for Chelsea, Penyak, or Camille, or myself, you can tweet us at I think mine's at the David Bennett.
At the David Bennett. I'm at cpenny, SEAPENY.
And if you don't want yours public,
No, it's fine.
Definitely shoot us some questions. We never mind.
Yeah, mine's at Camille. Just combine Chelsea and I's names together.
Oh yeah.
I'll have Chelsea or
We'll-
myself post
We'll
the
post it.
screen names just in case you're
Yeah.
Twitter usernames. How'd this go? I need to go. This one's not. I haven't done this one enough. Okay. How do I end it? Because now the song was actually about like it was starting, but now I have to change the lyrics because it's ending. Okay. You pulled up a chair, you let down your hair. It was the Bennettarium. Bunny will be back next week, so stop sending me that question on my Twitter. Bennettarium. Okay.
Yay.
Okay.
Sorry for all the people who sent questions just now. We're not going to answer
We're not
them.
going to answer them. That's it. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. One of these days we'll have one of them funny ones. We haven't been too funny since the first two or so. But I just like talking.
Hard.
I like talking.
Yeah, I just want to be normal.
It's easier to be funny when you have lots of people to bounce off.
Yeah.
The bigger the group, the funnier
I feel
we
like
are.
I'm just sitting here like, yeah, go on. And but
when you plan out something to talk about, it's gonna be more informational.
But that's the last two podcasts. I've been fine with that. It does feel like, if anyone came here for the jokes, are we not that we're known for that? But you're missing out, I guess. But I do like that so far every episode has been a little different.
Yeah.
There's been some
Lunch
ideas.
machine.
Like one idea was that we could do, like a little impromptu role-playing session or something, or kind of like a little bit of improv. If Bunny and I are here doing like with robot characters, I've seen some of that. All that seems like interesting. We could do that. Like, here's a setting sent by this fan, and here we go.
Yeah.
Spine and Rabbit making soup. Let's see what happens. Like, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
We could do that. And then
Wow.
So I'm sure Sam will be back as well, but we're getting who's available.
I mean, hopefully we could keep it in. Hopefully you guys don't get bored of me. Hopefully we could keep it interesting, because I'm probably going to be on a lot.
I'm pretty much the only consistent, because if I'm not here, then it doesn't happen, because I have to do the recording.
You do all the setup.
And even if I could, like, if I told someone how to set it all up and stuff, like, it would be at my house, and there'd be a weird reason that I wouldn't be in my own
You're
house.
just in your room, like, I'm not going to take part in this.
I also, like, I mean, we could do it at like Bunny's place or any other place, but if it wasn't me, but I'm probably going to be on every episode if there is an episode.
Yeah.
But so far we're doing pretty good.
It was your idea. This is your baby, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean.
Technically, I guess it has to be, but because no one would know how to publish the podcast, because it's not like I'm teaching someone how to do that.
Yeah.
Anyways, next one will be either Sunday the 27th or Monday the 28th. And it'll be me and Bunny, and we'll see who the other folk will be. Folk, it works as multiple people. Okay, now I have to actually take this off, so you guys can keep talking until I get over there.
Thanks for tuning in, or thank you, whatever the term is. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to this later, we appreciate your support.
Okay, everyone say bye.
Bye.
Bye.